Chapter 881. Black Water City's City Lord? Since you're here, why hide? Lin Xian said coldly. Lin Xian's voice spread out clearly. Countless people were shocked. The Black Water City's City Lord was here too, especially the other two forces. They were all shocked, and their faces were gloomy. If this was true, they were in danger this time. Because the Black Water City's City Lord was a fourth heaven honorable, he had an absolute advantage here. Many cultivators stretched their necks and looked in the direction of Black Water City. At this moment, a deep laugh sounded. You're young, but your eyesight is not bad. That's right, it's me. As the words fell, a figure walked out from behind the Black Water City's crowd. This person walked with a majestic gait. His aura was extraordinary, and his appearance was ordinary, but there was a majestic aura around him. What was even more shocking was that his aura was too powerful. It swept through the entire area and made people's hearts tremble. Fourth heaven. This was the aura of a fourth heaven honorable. Countless people exclaimed. They were now sure that this person was really the Black Water City's City Lord. The Iron Sword sect and Huangfu family's faces were ugly. They did not expect the Black Water City's City Lord, Xiao Li, to really come. Lin Xian's pupils shrank, and his expression turned solemn. A fourth heaven honorable was indeed powerful. Just the aura alone made his body tense. Father, Xiao Mei exclaimed, her face filled with joy. Father, that kid is too despicable. Kill him. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. If Xiao Li attacked, that youth would definitely die. After all, a fourth heaven honorable was too powerful. It was not something a second heaven honorable could fight against. Xiao Li looked around and saw the imprisoned Grandma Silver in the distance. He revealed a disdainful smile and waved his hand, causing a vast force to surge out. Bang! In the distance, the black light formed by the black handkerchief was shattered and scattered on the ground. The black handkerchief trembled slightly and flew back to Lin Xian's hand. City Lord! Grandma Silver's figure flashed and arrived in front of Xiao Li. Xiao Li nodded slightly, then looked at Lin Xian. Do you want to kill yourself to apologize, or do you want me to do it? This voice contained an irresistible force. Everyone was shocked. They knew that the young man was really going to be in trouble. Dongfang Fenghuang's pretty face was also pale, her beautiful eyes filled with worry. Lin Xian was also frowning. He didn't have much of a chance of winning against a fourth-rank Venerable Realm cultivator. Of course, it was impossible for the other party to kill him. Therefore, the only thing they could do now was to avoid the brunt of the attack. In a flicker, Lin Xian used the illusory demon steps and flew to the side. You want to leave? Don't you think you're too naive? Xiao Li's face was full of disdain as he pointed out a finger. Roar! The black spiritual energy converged and formed a huge Jiao dragon. It flew out and attacked Lin Xian. The black dragon roared, shattering the void and striking Lin Xian in an instant. However, Lin Xian's figure soon disappeared into the void. After image, many people exclaimed, their eyes filled with disbelief. It was too shocking. A young man at the second heavenly layer of the Exalt realm was actually able to escape the attack of a fourth heavenly layer of the Exalt realm. So fast. The experts from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu clan were shocked as well. After image, Xiao Li was taken aback. This speed is a little surprising. However, do you think you can escape from me with that? Black dragon seals the sky. Xiao Li stretched out his palm, and a huge black dragon shadow covered the sky. It was dark and had a terrifying aura. 5 black Jiao dragons circled around and formed a huge palm that quickly slammed down. Wherever it passed, the void shattered. It was too terrifying. Countless people trembled. The power of a fourth heavenly layer of the Exalt realm was too strong. It was not something they could withstand. Lin Xian was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. He felt a strong pressure, and the wind from the palm alone was enough to make his blood boil. Boom. In the next moment, he activated the Red Lotus armor and covered his body. At the same time, he activated the Great Dragon Sword Soul and released a stunning sword chi. Boom. Poof. The terrifying power collided, and the sword chi shattered into pieces. Lin Xian was sent flying. However, he was not injured. The Red Lotus armor had blocked most of the attack, and he had neutralized the rest. Moreover, his sword chi was not useless. At least it had slowed down the Jiao dragon palm in the sky. What? He's not dead again? Everyone was shocked. This was too unexpected. They could not believe it. Xiao Mei and the rest were also shocked. Luck. It must be luck. How could this brat block the attack of a fourth heavenly layer venerable? Seeing that Lin Xian was not dead, Xiao Li's face fell. He was embarrassed that he could not kill a second heavenly layer venerable brat in 2 moves. Humph! He snorted and was ready to attack seriously. He wanted to kill Lin Xian in 1 move. A terrifying aura gathered on his body. It was as if countless Jiao dragons were roaring and intertwining with each other. Seeing that his opponent's aura had increased, Lin Xian's face fell. His opponent wanted to kill him again and again. Did he really think that he was easy to bully? Lin Xian's eyes were cold. He was ready to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul to fight with his opponent. Even if he died, he would drag his opponent down with him. Lin Xian was about to attack when suddenly there were a few sounds in the distance. It was accompanied by a shout. Don't you think it's embarrassing for an elder to attack a junior? If you attack again, don't blame Senma College for taking revenge in the future. The voice spread out, and martial artists appeared near Lin Xian. They were 3 young martial artists. One of them was a girl, and the other 2 were young. Senma College. They are from Senma College. The crowd was shocked, and then exclaimed, "No wonder. Only the prodigies of Senma College can fight against a 4th heavenly layer venerable warrior with a 2nd heavenly layer cultivation. Junior brother Lin, junior sister Dongfang, are you okay?" Bing Ling asked. "We're fine." Lin Xian and Dongfang Phoenix shook their heads. At the same time, they heaved a sigh of relief. It was still difficult for him to fight against a 4th heavenly layer venerable warrior. It seemed that he had to continue cultivating. "Hee, so you are from Senma College?" "I didn't know," Xiao Li said calmly, but he snorted in his heart. Now that the other party had come to help, he didn't want to attack. Moreover, there were so many people here, and the other party's identity was known. If he really attacked, Senma College might hear about it in the future. It would be difficult to deal with if he angered that kind of big shot. "Now that you know, why don't you stop?" Bing Ling snorted. She was in a blue dress. Her appearance was beautiful, and her temperament was unparalleled. She was a real beauty. Such an elegant and peerless beauty scolded the people of Blackwater City in public. That scene was extremely spectacular. Hearing the other party scolding, Xiao Li's face darkened. The martial artists of Blackwater City behind him also glared. No one had ever dared to scold them like this. If the other party wasn't a disciple of Senma College, they would have been dead by now. "Mayor, what should we do now?" Grandma Silver asked. Chapter 882. City Lord, what should we do? Grandma Silver asked. "Humph, let them go for now. They're just a few insects. They can't do anything. Once we get the treasure, we'll get rid of them." Then Xiao Li muttered to himself, according to the news, "The treasure is in this black cauldron. But what exactly is it? Why didn't the higher-ups tell me? Is this the king's treasure? But there's only a big black cauldron and nothing else?" Xiao Mei asked curiously. "This is indeed the location of the king's treasure. Niwa of Gojoseon died here. As for why you can't see it, that's normal. That's because there's an extremely strong seal here. Only by breaking it can we enter the real king's treasure." Xiao Li said slowly. Just wait. Soon, the seal will appear on its own. At that time, I'll have a way to break it." After he finished speaking, a cold smile appeared in Xiao Li's eyes. It was as if breaking the extremely powerful seal in the legends was not a difficult task for him. Xiao Mei and the others didn't ask any more questions. Instead, they obediently waited at the side. However, she still looked at Lin Xian and the others and made a throat-slitting gesture. "Just you wait. When I'm done with my business, it'll be your time to die." Xiao Mei snorted in her heart. Seeing that Xiao Li didn't make any more moves, Bing Ling and the others heaved a sigh of relief. After all, a fourth heaven venerable was a terrifying existence. If he really wanted to make a move, none of them would be able to stop him. Luckily, he was afraid of their identities and didn't dare to make a move. All right, he's afraid of our identities and won't make a move for the time being, but everyone should still be careful, Bing Ling said in a low voice. The five of them gathered together and found an empty space to land. They waited patiently. As night fell, the temperature dropped. Luckily, everyone was strong enough to resist the cold with their spiritual energy. At midnight, a ball of light rose into the sky like a bright moon. When it reached the top of the sky, the light it cast happened to cover the huge black cauldron. In the next moment, the carvings of strange beasts on the cauldron started to emit a faint light. In the end, it was as if they had come alive. They swam around the cauldron as if they would jump out at any moment. A series of low voices rang out from the black cauldron. Following that, the entire cauldron was filled with mysterious runes, releasing a peculiar light. The next moment, a mysterious aura spread out in all directions. Everyone was shocked. They stood up one after another and looked ahead. Lin Xian and the other four also opened their eyes. Their gazes flickered as they looked ahead. A king's treasure. This is the aura of a king. Bing Ling's voice trembled when she felt this aura. Inscriptions flickered on the huge black cauldron in front of him, light intertwined in the air, distorting the surrounding space. Then, mysterious runes appeared around the black cauldron, sealing it like a seal. The power emanating from the seal was extremely terrifying. It was even more terrifying than that of a fourth-level Venerable Realm cultivator. A casual strike from him would be enough to annihilate everyone present. There's actually a seal. Everyone was shocked. Fortunately, they didn't act rashly before. Otherwise, they might have suffered a calamity. As expected of a king's treasure, even the seal left behind was so powerful. Just this aura alone was unbearable, Bing Ling said in a low voice. Seeing the changes in the black cauldron, the surrounding martial artists all watched silently. None of them acted rashly. However, human greed was limitless under such a huge temptation. Even though there was a terrifying aura in front of them, there were still people who were ready to act. After a moment of silence, someone made a move. This was a group of more than 20 people. Although there weren't any third-level venerables, there were 7 or 8 second-level venerables. The remaining dozen were all first-level venerables. When such a group of people gathered together, it was extremely terrifying. When these people saw that no one made a move, they took the initiative to step forward and prepared to give it a try. After all, if they succeeded, they would be the first to enter the king's treasure. The benefits they would obtain would be huge under such a temptation. Even if their lives were in danger, they were willing to take the risk. In the next moment, more than 20 martial artists attacked together, covering the sky and earth. The attacks were extremely terrifying. They were like a torrent of the spirit sea that surged forward. Bang! A violent collision sound was heard. Shocking energy was vast and mighty, and the mysterious seal rippled like boiling water. However, the power of those people was soon reflected back. The energy that was reflected back was even more terrifying. The momentum was shocking, and it directly sent the 20 venerables flying. What? Seeing the scene, everyone was shocked. 20 venerables attacked together, but they couldn't break the frost seal at all, as expected of the king's treasure. It was indeed powerful. Yang Lin exclaimed. In front, the 20 venerables fell to the ground and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. They were all in a sorry state and looked terrified. This scene caused the surrounding martial artists to fall into silence again. The power of the mysterious seal ahead was beyond their expectations. At this moment, an old man stood out and said loudly, "Everyone, I'm sure everyone has seen how terrifying this seal is. Even 20 venerables can't break it. It seems that our forces can't break the defense at all if we act alone. Instead of that, why don't we join forces and attack together? Only then will we have hope of opening the seal. Otherwise, we can only stand here and watch. We won't get anything." Hearing this, everyone fell silent and thought to themselves, the gray-robed old man was right. If they didn't join forces, they probably wouldn't be able to enter at all. Soon, the small groups reached an agreement and prepared to attack. That was because if they didn't act now, they would really have no chance if those large forces attacked. One had to know that their groups only had 20 to 30 people, and they couldn't compare to a colossus like Blackwater City. Now was their only chance to enter the king's treasure. Soon, countless martial artists soared into the sky and formed a group preparing to attack. The sky immediately darkened, and it was dark. It was very shocking. There were more than 100 teams, and there were 2,000 to 3,000 people in total. They stood in the sky together, and they were densely packed like dark clouds. The auras of the venerables merged into one, forming a huge energy tide. That aura was too powerful. Even a 4th-level venerable would find it difficult to resist. Should we attack? Yang Lin asked. They were also a small group. If they didn't join now, it would be too late. The king's seal isn't so easy to break. Let's wait a little longer. Lin Xian shook his head. Chapter 883. He had secretly received a message from the Crimson Dragon telling him not to act rashly. Seeing Lin Xian's solemn expression, Bing Ling and the others nodded. After interacting with each other along the way, they had already recognized Lin Xian's strength and took his words seriously. Now that he had said to wait and see, he must have his reasons. With Lin Xian's reminder, Bing Ling and the others did not act rashly. They still waited and watched from where they were. In the next moment, the thousands of people in the sky attacked at the same time. The entire sky was illuminated by endless light. This attack was too terrifying. No one could block the attack of thousands of martial artists at the same time. However, this terrifying attack bombarded the seal in front of them and was fiercely rebounded once again. Moreover, the rebounding force was even more violent than before. Countless waves of energy that could be seen with the naked eye spread out in all directions, ferociously slamming into the sovereigns in the sky, sending them flying. Blood splattered everywhere and dyed the sky red. The venerables were all bombarded without exception. Seeing this scene, everyone trembled violently and sucked in a breath of cold air. This attack was too terrifying. Thousands of people could not break it. Was this king's treasure really unbreakable? Bing Ling, Yang Lin, and the others were even more shocked. If Lin Xian had not warned them, they would have gone up. If that had happened, they would have been seriously injured. Thinking of this, they felt a lingering fear. The people from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu clan were also shocked and frowned. The energy that had gathered in the sky was not weaker than any of them. Even so, it did not explode. This meant that even if they went up, they would not stand a chance. On the other hand, the people from Blackwater City seemed to be calm. Xiao Li stood at the front with his hands behind his back. He looked forward with a disdainful smile. In front of them, The huge black cauldron was attacked and changed. Countless rays of light gathered above the black cauldron and quickly formed a human figure. Soon, the human figure gradually solidified and finally became a 16 or 17-year-old youth. He had delicate features and a thin figure. He was looking up at the void. Seeing the youth's figure suddenly appear, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect the phantom of a young man to appear. But in the next moment, they became extremely terrified because the handsome young man emanated a powerful and terrifying pressure that enveloped the surroundings. His imposing aura far surpassed the Exalt realm. King's aura. Countless people trembled, wanting to bow down and worship. As for those with weaker strength, they were kneeling on the ground, trembling nonstop. Niwa of Gojosian. He is the Niwa of Gojosian. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding cultivators were all shocked. Even the experts from the 3 major forces were greatly shocked. They had never seen Niwa of Gojosian before, but they had heard countless legends about Niwa of Gojosian. However, they had never thought that Niwa of Gojosian was actually a teenager. Bing Ling and the others were also shocked as they stared blankly ahead. Lin Xian frowned. This Niwa of Gojosian was too young. He seemed to be even younger than him. What do you know? A king's means are heaven-defying. It's not a problem for them to maintain their appearance. Niwa of Gojosian obviously used this method. The Crimson Dragon transmitted his voice. So that's how it is. Lin Xian finally understood. From this point alone, one could see that a king was extraordinary. One had to know that the experts in the Exalt realm were usually old men because those experts were old monsters who had lived for almost 1,000 years. How could such a person be young? However, even if a king was old, he could still maintain his youth. This wasn't as simple as appearance. This meant that the vitality of a king had completely surpassed that of a venerable and reached a new height. In front, the young man's figure looked around at the crowd and then sighed. Seeing the young man's actions, everyone was shocked again. The phantom of the young man was no different from a real person. What's going on? Has Niwa of Gojosian been resurrected? Many people were frightened and prepared to run away. This is just a wisp of Niwa of Gojosian's soul imprint. He hasn't really been resurrected. The Crimson Dragon transmitted his voice. A wisp of soul imprint. Lin Xian exclaimed. As expected of a king, even a wisp of soul imprint was so powerful. Then, how powerful would a real king be? Everyone below the king realm is an ant. This is not wrong at all. The Crimson Dragon said, Boy, you'll know when you reach the king realm. King realm. Lin Xian clenched his fists and his eyes shone. He must reach the king realm. In front, the Niwa of Gojosian looked around and sighed. Endless vicissitudes of life appeared in his eyes. You're Niwa of Gojosian? Suddenly, Shaoli stood out and asked in a deep voice. As soon as these words came out, countless gazes looked over and exclaimed in surprise. What is Shaoli trying to do? Everyone was puzzled. Even if he was a 4th-level venerable, and even if the other party had a soul imprint, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. They couldn't be compared at all. Stepping out at this time was tantamount to courting death. As expected, the Niwa of Gojosian turned around and looked at Shaoli. He shook his head slightly. You're too weak. There are so many people here, but no king realm, not even a half-king. Do I have to give my treasures to you, ants? This voice was filled with endless lament. Everyone below the king realm was an ant. Even if there were 4th-level venerables and geniuses here, they were all ants in the eyes of a king realm cultivator. You're very courageous to dare to talk to me. However, a king realm cultivator is inviolable. Next is your punishment. The Niwa of Gojosian raised his finger slightly, and a ray of light shot out. The space shattered, and it instantly arrived in front of Xiao Li. Xiao Li's pupils shrank, and his expression changed drastically. The speed was too fast, and he didn't have time to react. When he saw it, the attack had already arrived in front of him. The ray of light was only as thick as a chopstick, but the power it contained was too terrifying. It wasn't something he could resist at his level. He raised his hand with difficulty, wanting to take out something. Boom! Just as the ray of light was about to pierce through him, a palm-sized jade token suddenly appeared in his storage ring and blocked in front of him. Boom! 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 An earth-shattering explosion rang out, and terrifying shockwaves enveloped the entire area. The surrounding people retreated in fear. Many of them even vomited blood and were sent flying. They couldn't withstand the shockwaves at all. Even the shockwaves couldn't withstand it. Lin Xian and the others also retreated. They felt like a small boat in a raging sea that could capsize at any time. Red Lotus armor, Lin Xian shouted, and a layer of bright red armor quickly covered his body, forming a solid defense. Bing Ling and the others also used all sorts of methods to save their lives. Between the heavens and the earth, the wind howled and lightning flashed. The entire world seemed to have arrived at the end of the world. After a long time, the terrifying shockwaves gradually disappeared, and the heavens and the earth returned to normal. Those who managed to escape raised their heads again and looked into the distance. Chapter 884. What? He blocked it. Everyone's eyes almost fell out of their sockets when they saw the scene in the distance. Lin Xian and the others also frowned. Their expressions were solemn because they saw that Xiao Li was still standing near the black cauldron. He was not dead. This was too unbelievable. One had to know that that was an attack from a king. How could a level 4 honorable realm block it? No, Xiao Li didn't block it. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he stared at the jade token in front of Xiao Li. The token was emitting a terrifying aura. Oh my God, what is that? Everyone also noticed the scene and exclaimed, Xiao Li has a token that can block a king's attack? What treasure is that? Everyone was envious and shocked at the same time. The other party could actually take out such a thing. It seemed that Blackwater City was well prepared. What king? It's just a soul imprint that's about to disappear. A disdainful voice rang out in the void. Everyone was shocked, and their minds went blank. Who was this? How dare he say such big words? However, in the next moment, they were so shocked that they could not speak. This was because the jade token floating in the air suddenly emitted a powerful aura that swept out in all directions. The aura was too strong, with an unquestionable sense of oppression. Its power was not inferior to that of Niwa of Gojoseon at all. King's aura. This is the aura of a king. How is this possible? Everyone was shocked, and their bodies trembled. Bing Ling and the others also looked solemn and kept retreating. Lin Xian frowned and stared at the beautiful lady's token. The jade token emitted a dazzling light. Then a figure walked out of the token. It was an old man with a sage-like demeanor. However, his eyes were a little gloomy. He had a supreme aura and the dignity of a person who had been in a high position for a long time. This aura was too terrifying. It was as if 100,000 demonic mountains were pressing down on the void, causing everyone to be unable to breathe. A king. It's a king. Countless people were frightened and exclaimed in their hearts. It was too shocking, too shocking. They did not expect two kings to appear in such a short period of time. A king. Lin Xian also exclaimed as his pupils constricted. He didn't expect Blackwater City to be related to kings. However, how is that possible? Lin Xian was not the only one who was shocked. The people from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu family were just as shocked. There was even a trace of fear on their faces. Although Blackwater City was powerful, it was only limited to the Blackwater River Basin. It was nothing compared to the entire Blood Realm. However, if there really was a king behind the Blackwater River, then it would be different. With such a status, how could they be willing to stay in the Blackwater River Basin? Old Monster Sue from the Iron Sword sect and the middle-aged expert from the Huangfu family were both shocked and confused. Originally, the three of them were evenly matched, but now it seemed that this was not the case at all. Their opponent, Blackwater City, seemed to have an unspeakable identity and secret. It's not a king, it's just a clone. At this moment, the dark red divine dragon transmitted its voice. King's clone, Lin Xian, frowned, and the shock in his eyes became even more intense. Even a clone could create such a terrifying aura, as expected of a top expert of the continent. King's clone. At this moment, the Niwa of Gojoseon also spoke softly, and there was a great pressure in his voice. Interesting. I didn't think that my treasure would attract a king. I just don't know if your clone can break my seal. If it was a few hundred years ago, my clone might not be able to break it. But now, how much power does your seal have left? The mysterious king's clone asked coldly. Time is merciless. There is no need for the dead to remain in this world. The conversation between the two caused a huge uproar. Countless people were shocked. A king's clone? This was just a clone. But whose clone was this? While the crowd was shocked, they were also very curious. There were only a few kings in the Tianmu continent, and they could be counted with one hand. The king's clone in front of them was definitely one of them. For a moment, all kinds of guesses spread through the crowd. At this moment, the king's avatar in front of him suddenly made a move. A terrifying aura surged from his body, and the surrounding spiritual chi quickly gathered like waves, forming a quaint purple seal that blasted downward. The purple seal was like a huge mountain, and there were profound inscriptions on it. It was filled with a mysterious aura. Rays of purple light hung down like auspicious rays, and each ray could shatter the void. Boom. As soon as the purple seal condensed, it pressed down on the Niwa of Gojoseon. Humph! The Niwa of Gojoseon snorted coldly, took out a pill, and threw it into the void. Roar! In the next moment, a terrifying sound rang out, shaking the 9 heavens and causing the surrounding martial artists to tremble. In the void, a huge black shadow appeared. It was indomitable, and it was extremely terrifying. It was a demonic beast with the head of a tiger and the body of an elephant. Its body was covered with hard poisonous thorns, and there was a pair of huge blue wings on its back. It looked extremely ferocious. A terrifying demonic aura filled the world. Cheong-chi! It's Cheong-chi! Someone exclaimed, and his eyes were filled with horror. This legendary demonic beast had actually appeared. Hearing this voice, countless people were shocked and speechless. They could only stand there in a daze. A battle pill? You really have such means. On the opposite side, the mysterious sovereign's clone said coldly, Today, let me see how much power your broken soul can unleash. In the next moment, the mysterious king's clone snorted and waved his arm, bringing the purple seal down. Roar! Below, Cheong-chi roared, flapped its wings, and pounced forward. Boom! There was a shocking tremor, and the entire space shook. Countless cracks filled the void, as if it would split open at any time. This was a king, and a casual attack was so terrifying. Lin Xian looked up, and his heart was filled with shock. This attack was too powerful, and it could destroy an area with a raise of its hand. This was the power that he yearned for. Oh no! Cheong-chi is being suppressed, and the seal is dimming, Bing Ling exclaimed. Lin Xian took a closer look, and indeed, the purple seal continued to descend, gradually suppressing Cheong-chi. Sigh, time is merciless. That elixir king is only a soul mark, and it can't unleash much power. The Crimson Dragon sighed. Hearing this, Lin Xian was silent. He knew that the seal was about to be broken. It seems that the seal is about to be broken. Let's get ready to enter, at any time, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Bing Ling and the others were shocked and excited. Who wouldn't be excited to enter the legendary king's treasure? Not only them, but all the martial artists around were also excited, and they all looked forward with fiery eyes. Xiao Li looked at this scene and took a deep breath. He said to the people behind him, "Get ready to enter the king's treasure." Chapter 885. The horrifying aura in front of them was vast and mighty, forming a scene of destruction. The surrounding people moved quickly, preparing to enter the king's treasure. The howling of the wind between heaven and earth became softer, and the horrifying aura gradually faded as well. The sound of glass breaking rang out. Everyone knew that it was the sound of the seal breaking. Countless people spat out saliva, looking excited. They knew that the seal around the king's treasure had finally been broken. Xiao Li laughed sinisterly. His body flashed, and he led the people of Black Dragon City into the sky like a flood. Seeing the people of Black Water City taking the lead, Old Monster Su from Iron Sword Sect and the middle-aged man from Huangfu family also roared and led their own teams to charge forward. The surrounding people also quickly rose into the sky like locusts flying forward in a dense pack. "Let's go too," Bing Ling said in a low voice, looking very serious. Finally, Lin Xian and the other four gathered together. Like a sharp sword, they quickly shuttled through the void. Soon, they entered the place where the seal had been sealed. An aura of desolation and vicissitudes rushed over, causing one's heart to tremble. Countless teams advanced toward the huge black cauldron in front of them. As if it felt the disturbance of these intruders, the huge black cauldron trembled quickly, emitting a black light. The strange beasts carved on the cauldron came to life at this moment. They kept moving around, roaring ferociously. Then, under the shocked eyes of the crowd, they quickly rushed out of the black cauldron and pounced on the crowd. When the crowd saw this, their scalps went numb, and their faces were filled with horror. This scene was too horrifying and strange. The carvings on the cauldron came to life and became real demonic beasts. It was hard to believe. Many people thought that this was an illusion used to confuse people. After a while, they abandoned this idea because there were countless screams in front of them. It was obvious that those martial artists had been attacked. A pungent smell of blood quickly spread out, and the entire sky was filled with panic. Deep roars sounded with terrifying killing intent. More and more demonic beasts flew out of the huge black cauldron and rushed toward the crowd. "Run quickly." When some timid martial artists saw this scene, they did not dare to stay and quickly fled into the distance. However, there were even more martial artists whose eyes were bloodshot. Their voices were filled with rage. "Kill them all, enter the enormous black cauldron, and seize the king's treasure." For a time, the sky was in chaos. All kinds of screams and sounds of battle rose and fell. The entire sky was filled with battles. However, they still underestimated those demonic beasts. Those demonic beasts were not real. They were illusions created by the mysterious power of the Black Cauldron. Indeed, with the two of them working together, their speed increased greatly. Although there were only 5 of them, their speed was not any slower than the people from the Iron Sword Sect. In the sky, everyone flew toward the Black Cauldron with all their might. However, the further they went, the more demonic beasts there were. They seemed to have gone crazy and blocked everyone's path. At this point, everyone's speed slowed down. Even Blackwater City, which was the fastest, had no choice but to slow down. Moreover, the casualties caused by this attack were extremely terrifying. The air was filled with the pungent smell of blood. The blood had gathered into a river, which was a ghastly sight. Many people from each force died in the attack. Even a third-rank honorable from the Blackwater City died. One could imagine how terrifying it was. Lin Xian and the rest were strong. With the protection of the icy spring staff and the ice lotus martial soul, they did not suffer any casualties. However, the 5 of them looked solemn and moved forward carefully. It was too terrifying. What exactly was that black cauldron? How could it create so many demonic beasts? Yang Lin had a lingering fear. Everyone be careful. Don't get hurt. Bing Ling reminded. Look, the people from the Black Water City are moving again. Yi Yan's eyes flashed as he exclaimed. Lin Xian and the rest turned their heads and saw that the martial artists from the Black Water City had started to disperse. They formed small teams and rushed forward from different directions. This was because they realized that the more martial artists there were, the greater the impact of the demonic beasts. If there were fewer people, it might be a good thing. This was also one of the reasons why Lin Xian and the rest were not injured. At this moment, Blackwater City had split their troops into 3 teams. Xiao Mei's team had 3 third-stage martial saints. Chapter 886. The next moment, the teams split up and rushed forward. Their speed was indeed much faster than before. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Old Monster Su from the Iron Sword sect and the Huangfu family looked pale. Soon, they decided to use the same method. What should we do? Yang Lin asked. Bing Ling and the others were deep in thought, but Lin Xian slowly said, "How about this? I will go and stop Xiao Mei and the others. After all, they have the water dragon pill. They might be able to do something unexpected. If no one stops them, the treasure might be taken away before we even reach it. But it's too dangerous. It's not good for you to go out alone." Bing Ling shook her head. "You still don't believe me? I won't do something that will kill me." Lin Xian smiled. "Okay then. You have to be careful. Don't force yourself." Seeing Lin Xian insist, Bing Ling could only agree. Then Lin Xian's body flashed. Like a sharp sword, he flew forward quickly, piercing through all the beasts in his path. Although there were more beasts here, Lin Xian's speed was even faster than before. At this moment, he had no scruples. He went all out and was extremely fast. His body emitted an icy sword light. Not only was it sharp, but the power of ice could also reduce the speed of the beasts around him. Running all the way, he finally arrived near the Black Cauldron. With a flash, Lin Xian rushed up and plunged into the Black Cauldron. He was very careful because the 2 king-level doppelgangers were still fighting in the void above the Black Cauldron. The 2 king-level doppelgangers were in a stalemate and did not have the energy to care about what was happening below. Therefore, Lin Xian went in without any danger. The Black Cauldron was huge, so the space inside was also very spacious. It was like a city. It was dimly lit inside, and wisps of mist blocked his vision. Even with Lin Xian's powerful soul senses, he could only sense things within a radius of 100 meters. Fortunately, he was very fast. It was not difficult to search the entire Black Cauldron. Soon, he found a head. The head was sparkling and translucent like a crystal. It was surrounded by multicolored light and emitted a mysterious aura. Lin Xian didn't know what the skull was for, but his instincts told him that it was a rare treasure. His figure flashed, and he was about to go down to search for the treasure and take the crystal head away. However, at this moment, a powerful sound of something breaking through the air came from behind, and a terrifying spiritual energy rushed toward him. Humph! Lin Xian snorted and unleashed a sword aura with the back of his hand. Boom! Immediately after, a terrifying explosion rang out, and violent energy waves wreaked havoc like a raging tide. Lin Xian took a step back, and the person behind him also let out a muffled groan. Taking advantage of this gap, Lin Xian used Dragon Capturing Hand and caught the crystal skeleton in his hand. "Thief, Hurry up and hand over the treasure, or today will be the day you die." A furious roar rang out. That voice was filled with fury. Immediately after, a rapid sound of something breaking through the air came from behind, and Xiao Mei flew over with a furious face. In her hand was a blue pill that was emitting light. It was the water spiritual pill. Behind Xiao Mei were Grandma Silver and two other martial artists. The two martial artists had powerful auras, and their expressions were cold. It was obvious that their cultivation had reached the third heaven of the honorable realm. "Damn thief, I'll definitely kill you." Xiao Mei's face was ferocious, and her body was trembling. With the guidance of the water dragon pill and the escort of 3 third heaven honorables, her speed was extremely fast. She thought that she would be the first to reach the Black Cauldron and obtain the rare treasure. However, things were out of her expectations. Lin Xian had entered earlier than her, and he had even obtained the rare treasure. "Hand over the rare treasure, and I can spare your life. I can even let you leave safely," Xiao Mei said in a deep voice. "Leave safely? Do you think I'll believe you?" Lin Xian sneered, holding the crystal skeleton with disdain. "Damn it, Grandma Silver, the 3 of you attack together and kill him for me." Xiao Mei's voice was cold. Then Grandma Silver and 2 other third heaven honorables walked out. The 3 of them formed a triangle and surrounded Lin Xian. Without wasting any time, Grandma Silver immediately used the Black Flood Dragon flag. It fluttered loudly, and black aura drooped down like a flood dragon, protecting her body. The trauma of being imprisoned by Lin Xian was still there, so when she saw Lin Xian, her first reaction was to defend herself. The other 2 also released light from their bodies, forming a solid defense. Then, the 3 of them stared at Lin Xian with cold, killing intent. "Brat, you're very strong and lucky to be able to obtain the rare treasure. However, if you meet us, you won't have any chance of survival." Grandma Silver's voice was ferocious. She really wanted to kill Lin Xian. Moreover, she believed that they would succeed this time, because if the 3 of them worked together, they would definitely be able to kill him. The combined strength of 3 third heaven honorables was extremely terrifying. It didn't matter if the other party was a genius or not. No one would be able to escape from the combined strength of 3 third heaven honorables. Seeing the 3 of them working together, the leader's face darkened, and his eyes were filled with coldness. Indeed, the combined strength of 3 honorables gave him a lot of pressure. Moreover, under such circumstances, it was difficult for his black handkerchief to imprison one of them. However, although the situation was difficult, he wasn't afraid. At least if he really wanted to leave, these people definitely wouldn't be able to stop him. "If you want the rare treasure, then exchange it with your lives." Lin Xian sneered. "You're courting death." Grandma Silver roared. She didn't expect Lin Xian to be so stubborn. As her voice fell, the hillman quickly attacked. Terrifying and vast energy rushed towards Lin Xian from 3 directions. Grandma Silver waved her black flag, and a black flood dragon rushed out with a ferocious roar. It carried a strange and eerie energy as it pounced towards Lin Xian. The other 2 also attacked quickly. They shot out a gray flame and a dazzling blade light. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He moved his feet and quickly traversed the void like a ghost, leaving behind countless afterimages. He used the illusory demon steps. Even if his opponents were third heaven honorables, they couldn't lock onto him. Therefore, their attacks all missed. However, in the next moment, the 3 of them worked together and formed a pitch-black ancient mirror. It hung in the air and shot out a black light, knocking Lin Xian out of the void. "We knew that you were very fast. How could we not be prepared? Don't struggle. Today is the day you die. Die, brat." The 3 of them walked forward step by step with hideous smiles on their faces. Lin Xian was blasted out of the void by a strange force. Instantly, his blood and chi churned, and his whole body felt like it was about to split open. He was extremely shocked. Indeed, his opponents had a way to deal with him. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly, and anger appeared in his eyes. Chapter 887. In the next moment, he pulled out the wind shadow sword and quickly drew in the air. A strange aura spread out as the surrounding spiritual energy surged and gathered into a wave that surged towards him. Oh no, this kid is going to use some ultimate skill. Everyone, stop him! Feeling the terrifying aura, Grandma Silver's face darkened as she shouted angrily. The three of them took out their dragon flags and quickly waved them in the air. Black clouds covered the city as a terrifying and oppressive aura exploded. It was like a demonic cloud that was about to envelop Lin Xian. Lin Xian waved the long sword in his hand and drew a strange trajectory in the air. A terrifying and vast power spread out, filling the entire sky in an instant. Gale lightning sword, 3 sword scares ghosts and gods. Lin Xian's expression was cold as his deep voice sounded. The long sword in his hand suddenly pierced out, and a sharp sword aura exploded. Up above, the void trembled as 3 huge sword shadows fell, slashing down viciously. With one strike, the air was shattered. Earth-grade martial arts. Feeling the terrifying aura, Grandma Silver and the other two's faces changed as they screamed in horror. They did not expect the young man in front of them to have mastered an Earth-grade martial arts. Earth-grade martial arts were peerless treasures that even their city lord had not mastered. But now a young man had actually executed such a terrifying martial arts. Feeling the terrifying sword aura, the 3 scalps went numb. They did not dare to be careless and used all their strength to form a solid defense in front of them. Countless black gas flew out from the black flag and quickly intertwined in front of the 3. 3 dragons surged out and formed a black dragon diagram. The pitch-black light emitted a powerful force. It was obvious that this was an extremely powerful defensive technique. In the next moment, the 3 huge sword shadows in the air fell and crashed into the black light screen. A low and terrifying sound rang out as countless air waves surged up into the sky. The black light screen formed by the 3 dragons only lasted for a moment before it shattered. Then, the 3 powerful sword auras crashed into Grandma Silver and the other 2 and sent them flying. Bang! The 3 of them spat out mouthfuls of blood and were in a sorry state. Their bodies flew out and crashed into the black cauldron with a rumbling sound. The 3 of them were almost cut in half by this attack. Seeing this scene, Xiao Mei screamed in horror from afar. She could not believe that Lin Xian had such terrifying strength to be able to injure 3 third-level sovereigns with a single strike. This was too terrifying. Most likely, only a 4th heaven venerable realm cultivator would be able to accomplish this. And what was Lin Xian's cultivation level? He was only a 2nd rank venerable. Thinking of this, her scalp went numb. Not daring to stay any longer, she turned around and twisted her waist in an attempt to escape. She really didn't dare to stay any longer. Otherwise, she would probably end up in a miserable state. Therefore, she had to leave quickly. Hearing the sound of Xiao Mei escaping, Lin Xian coldly laughed. This vicious woman had tried to take his life time and time again. Did she really think that he was easy to bully? Stretching out his palm, Lin Xian used the dragon-capturing hands, forming 2 dragons of light. They roared ferociously as they rushed out, binding Xiao Mei in an instant. Then Lin Xian shook his arm and pulled her to his side. "What are you trying to do?" Xiao Mei screamed in horror. "If you dare to touch me, you're dead. My father won't let you off." Seeing this scene, the Silver Granny and the other 2's eyelids twitched. They endured the injuries in their bodies and quickly stood up. They said hatefully, "Thief, if you dare to touch our miss, you won't be able to live in this world." Scram! Don't let me see you. Otherwise, I'll kill her right now. With that, Lin Xian tightened his grip, causing Xiao Mei to scream in pain again. The silver granny struggled, but she did not leave. They had received orders to obtain the rare treasure. Thief, if you dare to touch Miss, the city lord won't let you off. Xiao Mei screamed. My father will be here soon. If you dare to touch me, you're dead. I advise you to let me go and leave the rare treasure behind. Maybe I'll spare your life if I'm in a good mood. You're about to die, and you still dare to say such words. Do you really think I won't dare to kill you? Lin Xian snorted coldly as he tightened his grip and broke one of Xiao Mei's arms. Ah! Xiao Mei screamed in a heart-wrenching voice. Ha ha, I knew you wouldn't dare to kill me. When my father comes, I'll break every bone in your body. I'll make you wish you were dead. Don't dare to kill you? You're too confident. Lin Xian sneered as he shattered Xiao Mei's body. Pung! In an instant, all the bones in Xiao Mei's body were shattered, and the spiritual sea in her dantian was broken. Ah! At this moment, Xiao Mei finally felt fear. Without her cultivation, she was a cripple. If that was really the case, she might as well die. In the distance, Granny Silver and the other two were also shocked. They didn't think that Lin Xian would really kill her. In the sky, another violent energy wave came. Boundless spiritual chi swept out in all directions, and the entire sky was quickly destroyed, forming a huge black hole. The king's aura that had been suppressing everyone's hearts also gradually disappeared. Countless people looked up at the sky, their faces full of shock. The two figures in the sky gradually faded, as if they were about to disappear. Looking at this scene, everyone was shocked. It seemed that the king's aura had disappeared. If that was really the case, then they could all enter the Black Cauldron. Lin Xian's face changed. It seemed that the king's avatar and Niwa of Gojoseon's remnant soul had perished together. Xiao Li and the others would most likely enter soon. Thinking of this, Lin Xian took the dying Xiao Mei and quickly ran into the distance. However, just as he moved, the void suddenly split open and a terrifying fist smashed towards him. The power was extremely shocking. It was like a black flood dragon. It was powerful to the extreme. Lin Xian's body suddenly tensed up. He felt a wave of deathly energy that seemed to want to tear him apart. In that instant, he quickly used the Red Lotus battle armor and the illusory demonic steps to retreat. However, he was still hit by the fist. Lin Xian's body trembled, and he quickly flew back. Luckily, the Red Lotus battle armor was extremely powerful and blocked most of the power. Otherwise, his body would have been torn apart. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Lin Xian coldly looked ahead. Countless cracks appeared on the Red Lotus battle armor in front of his chest, as if it was about to break apart. One could only imagine how terrifying that fist was. There was only one person who could put Lin Xian in such danger, and that was Blackwater City's city lord, Xiao Li. As expected, the void rippled, and Xiao Li quickly flew over. He grabbed the dying Xiao Mei and threw her to Granny Silver and the others. He then turned around and gloomily looked at Lin Xian. The killing intent on his body surged, turning into sharp blades that pierced through the void. Brat, you're the first person who dared to provoke my Blackwater City. I'll let you know what regret is. Xiao Li coldly harumphed and once again waved his fist. A terrifying energy filled the entire space and pressed down on Lin Xian. Chapter 888. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He quickly summoned his ice lotus martial soul and placed it in front of him. The blue lotus spun and turned into 9 blue ice swords that slashed forward. Bang, bang, bang. That fist was too terrifying. It directly shattered the 9 blue ice swords. Then, the fist landed on the blue martial spirit and sent it flying. Puff. Lin Xian groaned and spat out another mouthful of blood. A fourth-rank honorable was indeed powerful. With his current strength, he was no match for him, unless he summoned his great dragon sword soul and fought with his life on the line. Kid, hand over the item, and I'll leave you with an intact corpse. Xiao Li's voice was cold as he walked over. Lin Xian's eyes darkened. He kept his ice lotus martial soul and prepared to summon his great dragon sword soul. However, neither of them noticed that the blood dripping from Lin Xian's mouth landed on the crystal skull in his hand and quickly merged with it. At that moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar. Several powerful auras rushed over. Junior Brother Lin, we're here to help you. Suddenly, the void behind them was torn apart rapidly. Several figures arrived in the vicinity in an instant, as fast as lightning. In a flash, Bing Ling and the others appeared. They came to Lin Xian's side and looked at Xiao Li and the others warily. How dare you hurt a disciple of Senma College? We'll remember this. Bing Ling said coldly. Yang Lin also said coldly, Blackwater City, right? Wait for the anger of Senma College. Dongfang Phoenix and the others looked at Xiao Li angrily. Ha ha ha. Today is the day you die. As long as you're all dead, no one will know that I killed you. No matter how powerful those old freaks of Senma College are, they won't be able to find me. Xiao Li's expression became ferocious. Dozens of martial artists rushed out from behind him and formed a huge arc that sealed the entire space. Today, I'll show you how powerful I am. In the face of absolute power, all geniuses and talents are useless. Xiao Li took a step forward, and the aura on his body exploded like a flash flood. Terrifying and vast spiritual energy gushed out quickly, easily tearing the void apart. Previously, I was just playing with you. Now, I will let you know the true strength of a fourth-level venerable. Xiao Li floated in the air and looked down. His expression was disdainful and his aura was incomparably violent. Previously, he had not used his full strength. Now that he had used his full strength, the momentum was extremely terrifying. Even if Bing Ling and the other four joined forces, they would not be able to resist. At this moment, Granny Silver also said in a deep voice, City Lord, the young lady's cultivation has been crippled by that brat, and all the bones in her body have been shattered. If there isn't any heaven-defying spiritual medicine, I'm afraid there's nothing she can do. Hearing this, Xiao Li's pupils abruptly shrank as a terrifying light burst out from his eyes. His originally dignified face was now incomparably distorted. He stared coldly at Lin Xian. Brat, I won't kill you. I will cripple your martial arts, break all the bones in your body, and let you live like a dog. The harm you've done to me, I will return it 100-fold. Humph. What's so great about being a fourth-level venerable? Catch me first. Lin Xian snorted coldly. His expression was extremely solemn, but there was not much respect in his voice. If he was really forced into a corner, he would just summon the great dragon, sword soul, regardless of the consequences, and fight with his life. Although his opponent was powerful, he did not believe that his opponent could withstand the attack of the great dragon sword soul if he did not care about his life. However, that kind of consumption would be too great. Once Lin Xian used it, he would be extremely weak. Obviously, he could not use it casually in a place full of danger. However, if his opponent really forced him into a corner, he would drag his opponent down with him even if he had to die. Humph! Shameless boasting. I'll let you know the difference between us. Xiao Li's expression was cold as he stretched out his palm. A terrifying aura filled the air. That fist was too terrifying, and the energy it carried made Lin Xian and the other four feel fearful. Let's attack together. Bing Ling shouted and waved the icy spring staff in her hand. It formed an ice mountain and blasted upwards. At the same time, Dongfang Fenghuang, and the others also attacked with powerful attacks. Countless rays of light shone, and a deafening roar sounded. Various rays of light shot up into the sky as if the entire void was about to explode. However, what shocked the five of them was that under their terrifying attacks, the fist was not hindered at all. It blasted towards them quickly. How terrifying! Bing Ling and the others' pupils shrank as they kept retreating. Was this the power of a level 4 honorable realm? It was indeed powerful. Even if they attacked with all their might, it would be difficult for them to resist. Boom! The terrifying fist landed, and the power directly shattered the void. The energy shockwave struck everyone, causing quite a bit of damage. Bing Ling and the others cried out and spat out a mouthful of blood. They looked up in horror. A bunch of ants who don't know what's good for them. This is the difference between honorables. Xiao Li put his hands behind his back with a look of disdain. As the honorable realm increased, the difference between each level would become greater. In other words, it would be more difficult to challenge someone of a higher level, unless one was an extremely monstrous genius or a martial artist who had a precious treasure in his hands. He would be able to challenge someone of a higher level. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for anyone to break through the shackles of this level. Kid, hand over the treasure in your hands, and I can consider giving you a quick death. Otherwise, I will let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. These companions of yours will accompany you to experience endless pain. Lin Xian raised his head, and his eyes flashed. It seemed that he could only use the great dragon sword soul. However, after using this power, he would become weak. But now, he could not care less. If he wanted to live, he had to get rid of Shaoli. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian quickly activated the longevity incantation and prepared to use the great dragon sword soul. However, in the next moment, the crystal skull in his hand was dyed red with blood and emitted a dazzling light. The entire space was dyed red by a layer of crimson light. Then, the space trembled slightly. At first, it was very weak, but it gradually became stronger. It was as if someone was shaking the entire black cauldron. Even the surrounding spiritual chi was boiling violently. This unforeseen event directly alarmed everyone. The faces of the martial artists who had just entered changed, and they all looked around nervously. They were really afraid of being tortured by the black demonic beasts. They were afraid that something strange would happen again. In the void, Shaoli did not make a move. Instead, his face was gloomy and his eyes quickly scanned the surroundings. He did not expect this to happen. Bing Ling and the others were even more shocked. They quickly gathered together and prepared to deal with the unexpected situation. Lin Xian frowned because he had already noticed the abnormality of the crystal skull in his hand. Kid, hurry up and leave this black cauldron. The Crimson Dragon quickly transmitted a message, and there was a trace of anxiety in its voice. Hearing this, Lin Xian's pupils shrank. Hurry up and say that. Hurry up and leave here. Then his body swayed, and he flew up. Bing Ling and the others were stunned for a moment, and then quickly followed behind Lin Xian. Chapter 889. Countless things had proven that Lin Xian's choice was correct. This time, they did not hesitate and quickly followed behind Lin Xian, preparing to leave. Wanna leave? Not so easy. Seeing Lin Xian and the others leaving, Shaoli snorted and stretched out his hand, wanting to grab them. The void fluctuated, and a black palm covered the sky, grabbing at Lin Xian and the others. The 5 fingers were like 5 dragons, roaring ferociously with a terrifying momentum. However, in the next moment, an even more terrifying force exploded. The surrounding spiritual energy quickly condensed, forming a black storm that swept through the 9 heavens. The momentum was countless times more terrifying than Xiao Li's palm. In an instant, the black dragon hand formed by Xiao Li was shattered by the black storm. What kind of power is this? It's so terrifying. Seeing his attack being shattered, Xiao Li's pupils shrank, and his expression was full of shock. One had to know that he had used all his strength just now. At the same time, the walls of the black cauldron emitted bursts of light, forming mysterious ancient characters with a mysterious aura. Mysterious ancient characters appeared inside the black cauldron, enveloping the surroundings and emitting a mysterious aura. Could it be that this black cauldron is the unique treasure of the king's treasure? Xiao Li was shocked and doubtful. He had received orders from above to obtain the unique treasure of the king's treasure. Originally, he had thought that it was the crystal skull in Lin Xian's hand, but now it seemed that it was not so. The mysterious aura emitted by this black cauldron was too strange. It was very likely that it was the unique treasure of the king's treasure. Feeling the terrifying aura emitted by the mysterious ancient characters, Xiao Li was even more certain of his guess. However, soon, his expression became extremely ugly because the aura emitted by this black cauldron was too terrifying. He could not bear it, let alone obtain it. Perhaps only a king could do it. The corner of Xiao Li's mouth twitched as he felt his scalp go numb. In the next moment, he waved his sleeve as well and led the people of Blackwater City into the sky. If they didn't leave now, they might be crushed into meat paste by the mysterious power inside. Lin Xian and the others were the first to move, so they took the lead and flew towards the exit. However, in the next moment, the huge black cauldron suddenly vibrated and rapidly expanded. The exit, which was originally close at hand, was once again pulled apart. What? Upon seeing this scene, Lin Xian's small face also collapsed, revealing a trace of helplessness. This situation was too strange, and he was simply unable to control it. Brat, hurry up and protect yourself. I'm afraid this space will be destroyed by the black cauldron soon, the Crimson Dragon said. Now that they had entered the king's treasure, it was not on the real world, but in a strange, independent space. But now, the Crimson Dragon said that the space was about to shatter. It was too shocking, but he didn't doubt the Crimson Dragon's words. The Crimson Dragon was an old monster that had lived for thousands of years. In the next moment, he stopped flying and quickly gathered with Bing Ling and the others. Be careful, all of you. Hurry up and activate your strongest defenses. This space won't be able to hold on for long. Lin Xian revealed a shocking piece of news. Hearing this, Bing Ling and the others were shocked, and their faces were full of disbelief. They didn't know how Lin Xian knew this news, but looking at his expression, it didn't seem like he was joking. The space will shatter. Everyone gasped. If that was really the case, they were afraid that they would be greatly affected. Don't hesitate anymore. Quickly use your strongest skills, Lin Xian said quickly. Then Bing Ling and the others nodded and used their life-saving skills. Lin Xian also used his spiritual energy, quickly forming a huge shadow of the Crimson Lotus armor covering Bing Ling and the others. Behind them, Xiao Li and the others stopped running. Instead, they released their powerful spiritual energy, forming a solid defense covering the people of Blackwater City. In an instant, in the huge black cauldron, every warrior formed a strong defense to protect their lives. The huge black cauldron trembled more and more violently, and it kept expanding as if it was going to break the sky. At this moment, all the warriors in the king's treasure space raised their heads in horror. Looking at this horrifying scene, their bodies kept trembling, not knowing what was going on. In the next moment, cracks appeared in the sky like broken glass. The terrifying cracks spread in all directions, making cracking sounds. Bang! In the end, the sky couldn't bear the impact, and a huge black vortex appeared, swallowing everything. Blackwater River Basin. The Blackwater roared and surged. At this moment, above the Blackwater River, the void suddenly shattered and a huge black hole appeared. Then, a huge cauldron appeared like a black, demonic mountain. It quickly flew out of the black hole and hit the ground, like a comet hitting the ground. The huge black cauldron landed, triggering a terrifying force that shook all directions. Suddenly, a horrifying pit appeared on the ground, and cracks that were almost 10,000 feet long spread in all directions. Not only that, but the trembling force also spread, causing the river to surge, forming waves that were almost 1,000 meters high. The surrounding mountains were also shattered by this force. This scene directly shocked the surrounding warriors. Countless people were like frightened rabbits, fleeing into the distance. When they arrived at a safe place, they stopped and looked ahead in horror. However, what happened next shocked them even more. The black vortex in the sky was spinning, and countless people were spewing out like raindrops. These people were the ones who had entered the king's treasure secret realm. Lin Xian and the others were pushed by a chaotic force of space. The force hit the Red Lotus armor, making a rumbling sound. Fortunately, the Red Lotus armor was strong enough to resist it. Otherwise, the turbulence of space alone would have killed them. Sure enough, screams could be heard from time to time. Those were the warriors who couldn't resist the turbulence of space and were killed by that violent and strange force. Bang! Lin Xian and the others quickly left the black vortex and appeared above the Blackwater River. Lin Xian controlled the Red Lotus armor and quickly stabilized his body. Beside him, Bing Ling and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. The scene just now was too frightening. Even now, they still had lingering fears. Putting away the Red Lotus armor, Lin Xian and the others flew to the side. At this moment, countless people came out of the black vortex. Seeing that they were not dead, they all exclaimed in excitement. However, the next moment, they all looked at the huge black cauldron in front of them with deep fear in their eyes. Looking at the huge black cauldron, Dongfang Phoenix's beautiful eyes flashed. She exclaimed in a low voice, "What is that thing? It can even break the space created by a king? This thing can't be a king rare treasure, right?" Chapter 890. Upon hearing this, Bing Ling and the others were shocked. They thought that the crystal skull in Lin Xian's hand was a rare treasure, but they did not expect the real treasure to be the giant black cauldron. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together, and his expression was grave. He did not expect the rare treasure to be the giant black cauldron, but the crystal skull in his hand was not an ordinary item. If the crystal skull had not been activated, the giant black cauldron would not have changed like this. However, the aura of the giant black cauldron was too terrifying. He could not even get close to it, let alone have any ideas about it. Shaking his head, Lin Xian did not intend to take it. Instead, he said in a low voice, "We should take this opportunity to leave. Otherwise, we will be in trouble when Blackwater City realizes what is going on. As for the rest, we should wait until the situation is clear." Bing Ling and the others nodded in agreement. Indeed, the current situation was extremely unfavorable for them. Moreover, the giant black cauldron was too strange. Its aura was filled with a murderous aura, and it did not seem like a normal treasure. However, just as Lin Xian was about to leave, the crystal skull in his hand suddenly trembled, as if it was affected by the giant black cauldron. It produced a mysterious power. The power was filled with murderous aura, and it quickly rushed into his body as if it wanted to take control of him. Not good. Lin Xian's face changed. In the next moment, he pushed the dragon sword soul with all his strength, forming countless sword auras that wandered around his body. The sharp sword aura exploded and destroyed the murderous aura. Only then did he breathe a sigh of relief. It was too scary. Fortunately, he had the dragon sword soul, which could destroy everything. Otherwise, he would have become a killing machine that only knew how to kill. Damn it! What the hell is this thing? Lin Xian's face was ugly, and he had an impulse to throw the crystal skull away. What's wrong? Bing Ling saw Lin Xian's strange behavior, and a trace of worry flashed in her beautiful eyes. Nothing, let's go. Lin Xian shook his head and took a deep breath. The dragon sword soul in his body was spinning rapidly, forming sword auras that covered his body. He did this to prevent the previous incident from happening again. Then he stomped his foot and flew into the distance. On the other side of the Black Water River, Shaoli led the people from Black Water City out of the Black Whirlpool. He looked in the direction where Lin Xian and the others had disappeared with a gloomy expression. Now he understood that the crystal skull in Lin Xian's hand was most likely related to the Black Cauldron. In other words, it was the key to opening the Black Cauldron. With his current strength, subduing the Black Cauldron was undoubtedly a pipe dream. However, it would be different with the crystal skull. Perhaps with a little research, he would be able to find a solution. When he thought of this, his eyes burned with passion as he stared at Lin Xian once more. He had to get that crystal skeleton. In the next moment, Shaoli waved his sleeve and released his clansmen from the defense. Then he turned into a black dragon and chased after Lin Xian. Lin Xian and the others flew in the opposite direction of the Black Cauldron. However, not long after, he once again felt the invasion of a murderous aura. Fortunately, he had defended himself in advance. The dragon sword soul in his body surged and quickly destroyed the murderous aura. However, the crystal skull in his hand shone even brighter, especially in its two eye sockets. Two blood-red flames formed and danced. In the next moment, the Black Cauldron in the distance trembled again. Suddenly, the entire Black Water River became a scene of chaos. Countless mountains collapsed, and the ground cracked. Thousands of meters of cracks appeared, forming countless abysses. In the distance, the Black River surged and roared, creating huge waves. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. The surrounding cultivators were terrified and fled. Although they had guessed that the Black Cauldron was a king rare treasure, they did not have the ability to take it. In midair, Shaoli stopped chasing and revealed himself. He looked at the trembling Black Cauldron with a gloomy expression. He did not know what had happened, but he had an extremely bad feeling in his heart. Sure enough, in the next moment, the Black Cauldron trembled and rose from the ground. It turned into a ray of black light and instantly disappeared. Only a terrifying deep pit and countless cracks were left behind. What? Seeing this scene, Xiao Li's pupils constricted, and his face was filled with shock. His face was gloomy. He extended his soul power and quickly sensed. However, he had searched 1,000 miles, and there was no trace of the Black Cauldron at all. The surrounding people were also terrified. They stared blankly at this scene, not knowing what had happened. Could it be that the king rare treasure had been taken away by someone? Xiao Li's face was gloomy. If that was the case, then the person who had come was extremely terrifying. He was at least a 7th heaven venerable, or even stronger. He could not afford to offend such an expert at all. However, the king rare treasure had been ordered by the Palace of Gods of War. He had to get it. If he could not do it, the consequences would be dire. Thinking of this, Xiao Li's face became extremely ugly. If he could not complete the mission, he would probably end up in a miserable state. Even if his father was an elder in the Palace of Gods of War, he might not be able to save him. Moreover, what was even more tragic was that he did not know where the Black Cauldron had gone. Was it taken away by someone, or did it fly away on its own? Although the Black Cauldron was gone, the crystal skull was still there. If he could get the crystal skull, he might be able to find the Black Cauldron. If he could not, he could hand it over to the palace of gods of war. Perhaps he would be forgiven. Thinking of this, Xiao Li heaved a sigh of relief. Now, it seemed that the crystal skull was his only hope. Lin Xian, the Black Cauldron. Xiao Li's eyes were cold as he roared. The crystal skull was in the hands of the other party. As long as he could capture the other party, he would be able to obtain it. In the next moment, he moved and quickly flew into the distance. In front of him, Lin Xian and the other four were flying at an extremely fast speed, like 5 streams of light. Suddenly, Lin Xian's body shook, and his face became extremely pale. The spiritual energy in his body also quickly stopped, as if it had frozen. Lin Xian felt a huge pressure enveloping his body, as if it was going to tear him apart. His body also became stiff, as if he could not control it. What's going on? A look of horror appeared in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and used the last of his spiritual energy to quickly summon the golden-feathered mystical eagle. Bang! The golden-feathered mystical eagle spread its wings and appeared under his feet. Then Lin Xian lay on the back of the mystical eagle, panting nonstop. At that moment, he felt like he was about to die. Moreover, he could not exert any strength in his body. If it was not for his fast speed, he would have fallen. Falling from such a high altitude was no joke. If he fell to his death, it would be a big joke. Seeing this, Bing Ling, Dongfang Phoenix, and the rest were shocked. They quickly landed on the back of the golden-feathered mystical eagle and asked anxiously, "What happened to you? Are you okay? You look so pale. Were you injured earlier?" Chapter 891. It's nothing. I'll be fine after some rest. During this time, please protect me. Lin Xian's face was as pale as paper, and beads of sweat rolled down his cheeks. Don't worry. As long as we're here, we won't let you get hurt. Bing Ling nodded solemnly. Thank you very much. Lin Xian quickly sat down with his legs crossed and closed his eyes. He quickly checked the situation in his body and was shocked. There was a small black cauldron in his body, emitting a terrifying aura. Seeing this, Lin Xian almost bit his tongue. Although the black cauldron had shrunk countless times, he recognized it at a glance. It was the giant black cauldron that had broken through the king's space. Damn it! What's going on? How did it get into my body? Lin Xian's face was extremely ugly. He realized that the reason why his body was stiff and his spiritual power was disappearing was most likely caused by the small black cauldron. Moreover, the evil aura emitted by the cauldron was too strong. Even with the great dragon sword soul, it was difficult to resist. It wasn't that the great dragon sword soul was inferior to the cauldron, but Lin Xian's current cultivation was unable to unleash the full power of the great dragon sword soul. However, he gritted his teeth and pushed the great dragon sword soul forward with all his might. Fortunately, the great dragon sword soul's offensive saint technique was able to cut off some of the evil aura, even though Lin Xian couldn't fully unleash it. At least, it could allow the spiritual power in his body to circulate again. Feeling that his body was full of spiritual power again, Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. However, he still looked at the small black cauldron with a worried expression. Roussillon, what the hell is this? Do you know? Lin Xian asked through telepathy. If I'm not wrong, this small black cauldron should be the legendary 10,000 beast ding. 10,000 beast ding? What's that? Lin Xian was puzzled. He remembered that the small black cauldron was engraved with all kinds of rare beasts. If it's really 10,000 beast ding, then it should be an Earth-level treasure. And it's complete, a complete Earth-step artifact. Lin Xian was so shocked that he almost cried out. He was truly too shocked. After all, the Lone Star Sword was only a fragment of an Earth-ranked treasure, yet it was already terrifying to such an extent. One could imagine how formidable a true Earth-rank treasure would be. But now, there was actually an Earth-rank artifact in his body. Lin Xian couldn't believe it. If news of this were to spread, perhaps even King Tears would hunt him down. At this time, the Crimson Dragon spoke again. If my guess is correct, the crystal skull in your hand should be the corpse of Niwa of Gojoseon, and the 10,000 beast sting should be the weapon of Niwa of Gojoseon when he was alive. That's why the two have such a connection. Lin Xian was silent. He realized that if this was the case, then everything seemed to make sense. First of all, the Black Cauldron was an Earth-rank treasure, a legendary king tier treasure. This treasure was probably left behind by Niwa of Gojoseon when he fell. It was sealed away, waiting for a fated person to obtain it, and Lin Xian seemed to be the fated person. However, he wasn't happy at all. In fact, he was on the verge of tears. Although this Earth-rank treasure was good, he couldn't control it at all. Not to mention controlling it. Just the aura alone was enough to almost tear his body apart. No matter how good this treasure was, he needed to be alive to take it. Be content. If others knew that you had a complete Earth-rank treasure and had such an expression, perhaps all the king tiers in the world would hunt you down. How about I give it to you? If you can get it out of here, then it's yours. Lin Xian sighed. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon trembled. Its eyes were burning with passion. This was an Earth-rank treasure, and a complete one at that. One had to know that the value of this treasure was unimaginable. If news of this spread, all the king tiers would go crazy. Even the Crimson Dragon didn't have a complete Earth-rank treasure when it was at its peak. It could be imagined how precious a complete Earth-rank treasure was. If he could obtain it, he would definitely be able to suppress everyone. But thinking of his own situation, the Crimson Dragon immediately drooped his head. His cultivation was only around the first layer of the Venerable Realm. He couldn't even compare to Lin Xian, let alone obtain the Black Cauldron. Forget it. This thing is too hot to handle. Help me keep it first. It won't be too late to ask for it after I recover my dragon essence. The Crimson Dragon laughed mischievously. F***CK. Lin Xian was so angry that he stomped his foot. He had the urge to curse, but then he took a deep breath. Let's not talk about messing around. Seriously, what should I do with this thing? It's been in my body all this time, and I can't use my strength at all. I think you can try to give up resisting. The Crimson Dragon shrugged. In the past, this dragon heard a saying, if you can't resist, then just enjoy it. It's talking about your current state. Damn you. Lin Xian was so angry that he almost went berserk. Seeing that Lin Xian was anxious, the Crimson Dragon didn't joke around. Instead, he said in a deep voice, I'm serious. You can really give up resisting temporarily and let this fiendish aura fill your entire body. Then I'll die. Lin Xian's face darkened. No matter how he looked at it, he felt that this Roussillon was trying to harm him. You won't die so easily. At least, this Black Cauldron won't take your life. Don't forget, what else do you have in your body? You mean, that mysterious little sword. Lin Xian's heart shook. He suddenly remembered that there was an ancient little sword in his body. It was incomparably mysterious. That little sword was originally a pendant given to him by his father. Later, it entered his body, and with that mysterious little sword, he was able to cultivate. Furthermore, it was also in that mysterious little sword that Lin Xian met Lord Alcohol and began his counterattack. By the way, what exactly is that little glazed sword in my body? Lin Xian asked with a voice transmission. About that, I've checked it many times, but I can't tell. However, I can tell that it's definitely something from the primordial era, the Crimson Dragon said with lingering fear. He had once checked Lin Xian's body. When he saw the mysterious little sword in his body, he was shocked. He tried to approach it, but he was nearly scared out of his wits. The mysterious little sword was too terrifying. It was even more terrifying than the aura emitted by the dragon sword soul. I think that as long as we let the fiendish aura provoke the mysterious little sword, with its strength, we can definitely suppress 10,000 beast ding. Lin Xian nodded. There was no better way at the moment, so he could only give it a try. Furthermore, the most mysterious thing in his body was that little glazed sword. It was even more mysterious than the dragon sword soul. Let's go all out. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and decided to do as the Crimson Dragon said. He really had no other choice. He couldn't use much strength in his current state. Furthermore, he was in an extremely dangerous situation. There was no telling when Shaoli would catch up. Therefore, he had to get rid of the little black cauldron as soon as possible. In the next moment, Lin Xian activated the dragon sword soul and withdrew all the sharp sword aura. He was in a relaxed state, as if it sensed the disappearance of the sword intent. The little black cauldron trembled slightly. Then it emitted an even more terrifying light. Waves of black aura flowed wildly like a black torrent, quickly filling his body. The little black cauldron transformed into a black light and charged towards the spirit sea. Chapter 892. Lin Xian did not know that the moment he withdrew the great dragon sword soul, countless black gas instantly covered his body and formed dark demonic runes on his body. It was extremely terrifying. This scene startled Bing Ling and the others. They looked at Lin Xian in shock, not knowing what to do. Bing Ling's mouth was slightly agape, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shock, although she didn't know what had happened to Lin Xian. Just looking at the black demonic patterns that had formed on the surface of Lin Xian's body was enough to make them feel incomparably terrified. Could it be that he had been attacked by the demonic aura from the Black Cauldron? Dongfang Phoenix was also shocked. Let's go. Let's go to a safe place and then hurry back to the college. I feel that junior brother Lin is in a very dangerous state, Bing Ling said in a low voice. Finally, she tried to communicate with the golden-feathered sacred eagle to increase its speed. The golden-feathered sacred eagle seemed to have sensed Lin Xian's state. It suddenly screeched and flapped its wings, increasing its speed and flying into the distance. However, just as it increased its speed, there was a sudden air-rending sound from above. The void was mercilessly torn apart, and a black fist like a huge mountain came crashing down. The aura was too terrifying. Bing Ling and the rest instantly tensed up. Not good. Quick, defend. Bing Ling shouted, and then waved the ice staff in her hand, forming a layer of ice mist and blocking the sky. Dongfang Phoenix and the rest also took action. Dazzling rays of light superimposed on the ice mountain. In the next moment, the black shadow came crashing down. The terrifying force forced Bing Ling and the rest to retreat. Even the golden-feathered sacred eagle screeched and fell rapidly. Bing Ling and the rest turned pale and quickly stopped themselves. They then looked up solemnly. There was a black shadow there. He was wearing a long black robe with 3 golden dragons on it. They were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. He was extremely arrogant. Shaoli. When they saw the black shadow, Bing Ling and the rest's faces turned ugly. Hee, you guys ran pretty fast. But do you think you can escape from me? Shaoli said coldly. He looked around and saw the figure sitting cross-legged below. A sharp light shone from him. He had finally found Lin Xian. Oh no, I'm afraid his target is junior brother Lin. Bing Ling's face darkened when she saw the other's greedy eyes. What should we do now? Young Lin Wing asked. Junior sister Dongfang, you take Lin Xian and leave first. The 3 of us will hold this guy back. In his current state, Lin Xian couldn't make a move at all, and they couldn't just watch Lin Xian get caught. So They could only let Dongfang Phoenix take Lin Xian away first. But Dongfang Phoenix looked at Bing Ling and the other two worriedly. Don't hesitate. If you hesitate any longer, I'm afraid none of you will be able to leave, Bing Ling said coldly. Although she was a girl, she was very decisive at this time. All right, then you must be careful. Dongfang Fenghuang also knew the urgency of the situation. She gritted her teeth and said quickly. Then she turned around and landed on the golden feather godly condor. She quickly urged it to fly away. You want to leave? How laughable! Seeing the golden stream of light, Shaoli grinned and stretched out his palm quickly. Your opponent is us. Bing Ling snorted, and the aura in her body exploded. An unusually cold air filled the entire space. Yang Lin and Yi Yen also attacked with all their might. They attacked together and blocked the Black Hand. You're courting death. Seeing that the other party dared to block his attack, Xiao Li's face darkened and killing intent surged in his eyes. Anyway, that brat can't escape from me. I'll deal with you guys first, then I'll kill that brat. Xiao Li turned around and stared at Bing Ling and the other two with a cruel smile on his face. A large black flag appeared in his hand. On the flag, there were 3 ferocious dragons circling around, emitting a terrifying and vast aura. Let's attack together. Don't hold back. Bing Ling shouted, and the aura in her body exploded again. The space behind her fluctuated, and an ice blue throne appeared. It was crystal clear and emitted a piercing chill. Ice ceiling throne. That was her martial soul, facing a rank 4 honorable. Bing Ling didn't dare to be careless. Therefore, she immediately summoned her martial soul. A large ice throne appeared behind Bing Ling and emitted a terrifying icy aura. In the next moment, she sat on the ice throne like a queen, with the ice scepter in her hand. She was like the ice goddess who had descended to the world. She waved the ice scepter, and cold air gathered to form an icy wind that rushed forward. Yang Lin also summoned his martial soul. The muscles on his body bulged, and he was like a giant, filled with explosive power. His martial soul was a mountain peak that emitted yellow light. There were mysterious runes on it, and it emitted a heaviness that could crush the sky. Yang Lin raised his hands and attacked his opponents with a force that was as heavy as 10,000 pounds. A purple eye appeared behind Yi Yen. It was extremely strange and had a soul aura that made people tremble. The purple eye shone and formed a purple ray that surged forward. The 3 of them summoned their martial souls at the same time and attacked with powerful attacks. A bunch of ants. How dare you compete with the sun and moon? Shaoli said with disdain. So what if you summon your martial souls? He waved the black flag in his hand, and black smoke instantly covered the surroundings like a demon. The 3 dragons roared ferociously and pounced toward Bing Ling and the other 2. Boom! Terrifying energy exploded and instantly flooded the space. On the other side, Dongfang Fenghuang rode the golden feather divine eagle and flew quickly. Lin Xian sat cross-legged on the back of the divine eagle with his eyes closed. In his body, the black cauldron emitted a murderous aura. It was like a black wave that swam quickly in his spiritual meridians. The aura was extremely terrifying, and it could confuse people's minds and turn them into killing machines. In an instant, Lin Xian suffered great pain. Fortunately, he had a strong will and was able to endure it. The black cauldron turned into a black light and rushed toward his spiritual sea. The spiritual sea was the source of a martial artist's strength. The black cauldron wanted to occupy it. However, there was a small glazed sword floating in the air above the spiritual sea. It was located right above the spirit sea. Seeing that the best spot was occupied, the black cauldron started to buzz and emitted a black light. It was obviously furious. Boom! It turned into a black light again and rushed toward the small glazed sword, trying to drive it away. A low voice sounded in Lin Xian's body and echoed continuously. The black cauldron was quickly pushed back. Above the spiritual sea, the small glazed sword was still hovering quietly. It was obvious that the attack just now did not cause any damage to it. This immediately angered the black cauldron. It was an Earth-class treasure, and a complete one at that. Who in the world would dare to go against it? In the next moment, it emitted a dazzling light. All kinds of rare beasts swam around the cauldron and roared. It was obvious that it wanted to use all its strength to drive away the despicable guy. Chapter 893. An abnormally ferocious aura appeared, causing Lin Xian to feel even more pain. Above his spirit's sea, the small glazed sword seemed to feel the provocation of this aura and began to tremble slightly. Light flowed on the sword, forming a huge devouring power that seemed to be able to swallow everything. It quickly enveloped the small black cauldron. In the next moment, the ferocious aura was swallowed up. The small black cauldron let out a buzzing sound, as if it was frightened. It turned into a black light and rushed out of Lin Xian's body, wanting to leave this place. However, the small glazed sword would not give it the chance. Since it had been activated, there was no reason to stop. A huge devouring power instantly enveloped the small black cauldron and pulled it back. The small black cauldron was pulled back at an even faster speed and crashed into the small glazed sword. However, there was no earth-shattering collision. Instead, it seemed to have disappeared without a trace. At the same time, a huge black cauldron appeared in the space inside the mysterious small sword and crashed to the ground. As soon as it landed, the small black cauldron struggled with all its might as if it wanted to rush out. However, there seemed to be a mysterious power that confined it, preventing it from moving. Moreover, the entire space emitted a desolate aura that completely intimidated it. As the small black cauldron melted into the mysterious small sword, the ferocious aura in Lin Xian's body completely disappeared. His spiritual power was like a vast ocean, instantly recovering and filling every part of his body. A familiar and powerful power returned to his body once again. Success! Lin Xian was excited. Thinking about the scene just now, he still had lingering fears. Fortunately, the small glazed sword was extremely mysterious and could suppress Earth-ranked treasures. At the same time, this aroused his curiosity. What exactly was that small glazed sword? How could it be so powerful? A complete Earth-ranked treasure would not even have the slightest chance of resisting in front of it. Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He swore that one day he would uncover the secret of this mysterious small sword. With a thought, his spiritual power entered the space inside the small sword. Then he found the 10,000 beast Ding not far in front of him. This terrifying demonic cauldron had now returned to its original form. It was 2 meters tall and carved with all kinds of precious beasts that were vivid and lifelike. Unlike its violent and ferocious state from before, the tiny black cauldron was extremely quiet at this moment, and it seemed as if it had fallen into deep slumber once more. Looking at the complete Earth-rank treasured artifact, Lin Xian's eyes once again revealed a wisp of burning desire. He needed to quickly raise his cultivation base in order to be able to control this Earth-step treasure. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian looked around again. The space inside the mysterious sword was very strange. In his current state, he could only walk 1 or 2 meters. He clearly remembered that Lord Alcohol had charged into the depths of this space after recovering a portion of his strength. Therefore, the depths of this space was one of the places he had to go in the future. Of course, the prerequisite for all of this was to have great strength. This was also what Lin Xian was currently pursuing and what he desired the most. The next moment he exited the space and opened his eyes. "You're awake," Dongfang Feng Huang exclaimed when she saw the demonic patterns on Lin Xian's body disappear. What happened? Why is it only you? Where are the others? Soon, Dongfang Feng Huang told him what had happened. Lin Xian's face darkened when he heard that. That damn Xiao Li was still chasing after him. Did he really think that he could kill him so easily? This time, no matter what price he had to pay, he had to summon the great dragon sword soul and kill Xiao Li. Let's go back and support them. Lin Xian stood up and controlled the golden-feathered divine eagle to fly back. The golden-feathered divine eagle screeched and quickly turned around. It transformed into a golden stream of light and flew back the way it had come. Just as Lin Xian was rushing back with all his might, Bing Ling and the others were engaged in an extremely intense battle with Xiao Li. Xiao Li waved the black flag, and 3 flood dragons circled around him, releasing a powerful aura. On the other side, Bing Ling and the others were pale and covered in injuries. They had no choice. The other party was really too powerful. Even if the 3 of them joined forces, they could only fight to a draw. This was already very impressive. If it had been any other third-rank honorable, they would not have been able to withstand even one move. You are indeed the geniuses of Senma College. You can actually withstand so many moves. Xiao Li held the black flag in his hand, and a look of mockery appeared in his eyes. I wonder how long you can last under such circumstances. Humph, we can't defeat you, but you can forget about capturing us, Bing Ling said coldly. She sat on the ice throne like a queen. You don't know what's good for you. Since you want to die, I'll send you on your way. In the next moment, Xiao Li's eyes focused, and the aura on his body exploded again. It swept across the sky like a violent storm. A low roar was heard, and a powerful figure condensed behind him. It was a giant purple python. Its body was covered in eerie scales, and it exuded a terrifying aura. This giant purple python was Xiao Li's martial soul. After summoning his martial soul, Xiao Li's strength surged again. He sneered and quickly attacked. He waved his arm, and a giant purple python rushed out. It was like a long purple river that stretched across the sky. This punch was infused with the power of his martial soul. It was extremely powerful and could suppress everything. I'll fight you to the death. Yang Lin roared and waved his martial soul, the yellow mountain peak in front of him. Bang! A terrifying sound was heard, and it shook the 9 heavens. The two collided, and there was a dazzling explosion. In the next moment, Yang Lin's face changed. He felt that the power was like a vast ocean. It was vast, and it felt like it was going to tear his martial soul apart. In an instant, he could not hold on. Fortunately, Bing Ling and Yi Yen attacked at the same time. The blue ice throne flashed and formed an illusory blue figure that flew forward. At the same time, the purple evil eye in front of Yi Yen also emitted a purple spiral light which flew out. Boom! The 3 of them attacked with all their might, and they quickly resisted Xiao Li's martial soul. Humph! Open up! Xiao Li sneered with disdain. In the next moment, the giant purple python roared. Its huge tail was like a heavenly knife, and it whipped Bing Ling and the other 2 away. Bing Ling and the other 2 spat out mouthfuls of blood and flew a few hundred feet before they could stop. Then their faces turned pale. A sense of helplessness rose in their hearts. The opponent was too strong, and he had a top spiritual treasure in his hand. The 3 of us were no match for him. Yi Yen said, "After such a long time, I think Lin Xian must have gone far. How about this? The 2 of you go, and I'll stop him for a while." Yang Lin gritted his teeth. "No, we have to go together. No one can stay behind." Bing Ling quickly shook her head. If the 3 of them fought alone, None of them would be a match for Shaoli. If they stayed behind, they would be courting death. Even if we all stay, we can't defeat him. It's better to let one of us go. Stop talking. Let's attack together. Humph, you still want to fight? Go to hell. Shaoli sneered. He stepped on the giant purple python and rushed forward. Chapter 894. With a wave of his hand, the purple snake opened its mouth and spat out 365 rays of purple light. Each ray was like a sword chi, and they quickly covered the entire sky. This was the power of a level 4 honorable realm. Compared to a level 3 honorable realm, there was a world of difference. Each ray of purple light in the sky could easily kill a level 3 honorable realm. When 365 rays of purple light appeared at the same time, their power was unimaginable. In an instant, the purple light engulfed Bing Bing and the others. Boom! Bing Ling and the other two tried their best to resist, but they were still sent flying. Blood splattered in the sky as the three of them tried their best to resist and roared in anger. Bing Ling's face was cold, and a red light appeared in her eyes. In the next moment, a red light rushed out from her body like a sun, and it quickly disappeared. Then, a powerful force exploded from her body. At this moment, she was sitting on the frozen throne with the icy spring staff in her hand. She was extremely cold. Not only that, an icy crown appeared on her forehead, containing a terrifying force. Bloodline power. I didn't expect you to have such a technique. Shaoli was surprised, and then he showed a mocking expression. Fine, I'll play with you again, he shouted coldly and waved his arm again. 365 rays of purple light intertwined in the sky like a purple net, and they pressed down mercilessly. Ice bloodline, freeze thousands of miles. Bing Ling sat on the frozen throne like an ice queen. In the next moment, endless cold air exploded from her body and swept across the sky, freezing everything around her. Crack, crack, crack. The sky, earth, trees, mountains, and rivers were all frozen into ice. The 365 rays of purple light in the sky were also covered with a thick layer of frost. It's frozen. Yi Yan was excited. In the next moment, the frost in the sky quickly cracked, and the purple light released endless rays of light, and a sharp aura spread out in all directions. You're strong, but you're still no match for me. If you still have any tricks up your sleeves, use them now. Otherwise, die. Humph! Watch my martial soul fusion. Yi Yan roared from behind and quickly merged with the evil purple eye. A ball of light exploded, and the evil purple eye flickered and quickly merged with his glabella, forming 3 vertical eyes. They were like the eyes of a demon god, and they emitted dazzling light. Bang! A faint purple light shot out from the evil purple eye. It contained a terrifying and strange aura as it streaked across the void. Pung! The faint purple light seemed very weak, but it easily tore the void apart and erupted with a powerful force. That force even surpassed that of a third heaven venerate. Thousand Snakes transformation. Purple sun illuminates the sky. On the other side, Xiao Li also let out a cold shout and waved his hand. Immediately, 365 rays of purple light rapidly condensed in the sky, forming a round ball that hung in the air like a purple sun. The purple sun rotated and flew downwards, colliding with the faint purple light. Rumble! The two of them collided, and a violent shockwave spread out for thousands of miles. The terrifying collision caused dozens of mountains in the surroundings to be reduced to dust. The earth cracked open and extended into the distance. In the end, the 2 balls of purple light were smashed apart and turned into streams of light that dissipated into the air. However, Yi Yan let out a miserable shriek. Blood flowed out from the vertical purple evil eye between his brows. It was a ghastly sight. "Are you all right?" Yang Lin supported Yi Yen from the side, his expression full of worry. F***CK. Let's fight it out with him. He finally couldn't take it anymore. With a roar, he rushed back with the yellow mountain in his hand. Bing Ling's expression changed drastically. She wanted to stop him, but it was too late. In the next moment, Yang Lin also spat out blood and flew back, smashing a terrifying deep hole in the ground. "Humph, a bunch of ants. I've played enough. Go to hell." Xiao Li laughed maliciously. He stepped on the purple python and flew towards Bing Ling and the other two. With a wave of his hand, he sent the three of them flying again. Bing Ling and the other two spat out blood, dyeing their clothes red. "I won't kill you all at once. I'll torture you to death bit by bit." Looking at Bing Ling and the other two on the ground, Xiao Li's eyes turned cold. He then clenched his fist, and the purple python under his feet quickly transformed into a long purple whip. The long whip danced and whipped Bing Ling, leaving a bloody mark on her body. Soon Yang Lin and Yi Yen were hit a few times. "What Semi-College? What peerless genius? Aren't you all in the palm of my hand?" Xiao Li held the purple whip in his hand and laughed loudly. His expression was full of arrogance. "This is what you get for covering up for that kid." Then Xiao Li stopped laughing and stared at Bing Ling. A strange light flashed in his eyes. "Not bad, not bad. You're quite pretty, and your figure is even better. I wonder what you'll look like later." He smiled evilly and walked towards Bing Ling. He waved the long whip in his hand and whipped Bing Ling. Her clothes were torn apart, revealing her snow-white skin. Bing Ling gritted her teeth and stared at him coldly. Her eyes were about to spit fire. "I'll kill you." Seeing this, Yang Lin roared. Ignoring his injuries, he quickly got up and charged towards Xiao Li. "Humph! Trash!" Xiao Li sneered disdainfully and kicked Yang Lin to the ground. Then he stared at Bing Ling again and walked over slowly. He raised his arm, and the purple whip shone brightly again. If this whip hit, it would tear Bing Ling's clothes apart. In the next moment, Xiao Li sneered and waved the long whip. Bing Ling's eyes were unusually cold. She bit her lips tightly, and a trace of blood flowed down her chin. She had started to burn her blood force and was ready to fight with her life. Seeing the purple whip falling quickly, Bing Ling's eyes were filled with determination. She was going to fight with her life. At this moment, a sword radiance flashed across the void and hit the purple whip, sending it flying. "What?" Bing Ling was stunned. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. It was as if someone had pulled her up when she was drowning. That feeling restored her hope of survival. Yang Lin and Yi Yen exclaimed and heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Fortunately, she was sent flying. Otherwise, they could not imagine what would have happened. Xiao Li's face was gloomy and a murderous look appeared in his eyes. He was having fun, and he did not expect that someone would dare to stop him at this moment. That person must have a death wish. No matter who it was, they would die a horrible death if they dared to stop him. In the next moment, he looked around for the person who had attacked. Then he stared at a place and was stunned. Then a cold smile appeared on his face. "Brat, it's you. How dare you come back?" Xiao Li did not expect that the person who had attacked was Lin Xian. Lin Xian was the target that he had spent so much effort to find. Now that he was standing in front of him, alive and well, it felt great. "Looks like I'm in luck. Even the heavens are helping me." He smiled maliciously. As long as he could capture Lin Xian and get the crystal skull, he would be able to report back and not be punished by the Palace of Gods of War. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He ignored Xiao Li and turned around to look. When he saw the injuries on Bing Ling and the other two, his face twisted. Chapter 895. Dongfang Fenghuang cried out and quickly flew to the three of them. She took out a piece of clothing and covered Bing Ling with it. Then she took out some pills and fed them. Lin Xian came to Bing Ling and the other two and said in a low voice, "I've implicated you this time." Bing Ling and the others swallowed the pills and recovered a little. "Junior brother Lin, you shouldn't have come back. Hurry up and leave." Bing Ling shook her head and sighed. "Humph, what an idiot. You came here to die." Behind them, Xiao Li sneered. "If that's the case, I don't mind taking your life. What's there to be arrogant about?" Dongfang Fenghuang snorted and gritted her teeth. "With the five of us working together, I don't believe we can't beat him. No, I'll do it myself." Lin Xian said in a low voice. "Dongfang, take senior sister Bing Ling and the others and leave this place first. You want to do it yourself? Stop fooling around. He's a 4th-level honored warrior." Dongfang Fenghuang said anxiously. Bing Ling frowned. "Junior brother Lin, now's not the time to be impulsive. Let's work together and leave this place. Don't worry, I won't do something that will cost my life. This time, it's because of me that everyone was seriously injured. I'll avenge everyone. Dongfang, take the others and leave quickly." Seeing Lin Xian's insistence, Dongfang Fenghuang kept shaking her head. Finally, she gritted her teeth. "All right, I'll take them to a safe place to watch the battle. If the situation doesn't look good, we'll take action immediately. Then we'll work together and leave together. Okay." Lin Xian nodded. "Ayaya, what a close relationship. How touching." Xiao Li sneered disdainfully. "Have you decided who's going to die first?" "Humph, I'll deal with you alone." Seeing that Dongfang Fenghuang had retreated to a safe place with Bing Ling and the others, Lin Xian turned around. "You alone? You're overestimating yourself." Xiao Li sneered and ignored Dongfang Fenghuang and the others. As long as he captured Lin Xian, he could take care of the others. "Brat, I have to say that you are very stupid. You knew that I was here to capture you, yet you still dared to come out. Hand over the crystal skeleton, and I can give you a quick death." Xiao Li didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. "Of all the things you shouldn't have done, you shouldn't have hurt my companion. Since you've done it, you should atone for your sins with your death." Lin Xian's expression was incomparably cold, as if he was the god of death. His body emitted a monstrous killing intent. This time, he was truly enraged. He reached out and pulled out the black package on his back, then slowly opened it. "Humph, no matter what you do, you won't be able to escape death today." Xiao Li wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he had an expression of watching a show. That expression was like a cat playing with a mouse. He wanted to see what the other party was relying on to be so arrogant. Soon, Lin Xian opened the black bag and held the Lone Star sword in his hand. Clang! The long sword was unsheathed, bringing with it a blue light. It was like the sea of stars, incomparably deep. The moment the sword aura was unsheathed, the entire space became cold, as if countless sword auras had streaked across. Feeling this aura, Xiao Li's face also darkened. His eyes flickered as he stared at the treasure sword in Lin Xian's hand. His breathing gradually became heavier. This aura, that's right, a half-Earth-ranked treasure. "Ha ha!" Xiao Li looked up to the sky and laughed, his voice filled with excitement. "A half-Earth-ranked treasure. It's actually a half-Earth-ranked treasure. Looks like my luck is really too good." He really didn't expect to encounter a half-Earth-ranked treasure here. Moreover, this treasure was in the hands of a 2nd-level honorable. This was simply giving him a treasure. "Kid, I really have to thank you for giving me such a precious treasure. I have to say, you're really a child of fortune. I'll accept this half-Earth-ranked treasure." Xiao Li's expression was arrogant, and his face was filled with pride, as if the Lone Star sword was already his. Lin Xian didn't have any expression. He was incomparably cold, and his body was filled with killing intent. Those who hurt my companions die. His voice was cold, as if he was announcing Xiao Li's death sentence. Humph! You overestimate yourself. I won't give you a chance to attack. Xiao Li snorted and flew out like a ghost. He had to quickly kill his opponent. Not only for the crystal skull, but just the half-Earth-rank treasure was enough to make him go crazy. His eyes emitted a terrifying light like a venomous snake, incomparably cold. Boom! When the terrifying palm struck out, the void collapsed. The power was too terrifying, and it was as if thousands of giant mountains were rampaging. Kill! Lin Xian also swung his sword. The power of the great dragon sword soul was stimulated to the extreme. His entire body was now like a peerless divine sword, unstoppable. In addition to the power of the Lone Star sword in his hand, the sword was extremely sharp. The blood-red sword light swept across the sky like a river of blood, emitting a monstrous bloody aura that swept out in all directions. The terrifying sword, intent, even shot into the sky. Boom! The intense collision caused the sky to lose its color. Lin Xian took a step back. The sword light in his eyes flickered as he slashed out again. Damn it! On the opposite side, Xiao Li's face darkened. The previous attack was actually a draw. This greatly surprised him. Even if his opponent had the Lone Star sword, it was impossible for him to compete with him. In the distance, Dongfang Phoenix and the rest were shocked when they saw this scene. Originally, they thought that Lin Xian was irrational to fight alone. Now that they saw the scene, they were relieved. Lin Xian, who used the Lone Star sword, was actually able to compete with a fourth-rank honorable realm expert. This was undoubtedly great news. Xiao Li's face darkened. What a troublesome brat. But against me, he has no chance of winning. The half-Earth-rank treasure will definitely be mine. Purple Python Martial Soul, come out. Xiao Li roared angrily. His entire body's spiritual energy erupted like the source of a storm, releasing countless wind blades. Roar! A deep roar was heard. A huge, purple python ferociously appeared. Its tail was like a heavenly blade, blasting away the blood-red sword chi in the void. Boom! The blood-red sword chi was deflected and slashed to the side. Instantly, a 1,000-meter-long crack was formed on the ground. It was bottomless and extremely terrifying. Hee. The power of a half-Earth-rank treasure is really enviable. Xiao Li's eyes were burning. However, such a treasure is really a waste in your hands. Only I can make it shine. He stood on the purple python and looked down at Lin Xian. Say this after you have the Lone Star sword. Lin Xian roared and unleashed the great dragon sword soul to the extreme. Countless sword chi burst out from his body and swept in all directions. He held the Lone Star sword in his hand and activated the great dragon sword soul, quickly charging forward. You still dare to attack? Fine. I'll show you the power of my martial soul. Xiao Li controlled the purple python and attacked as well. Boom. Rumble. An intense battle unfolded, and the momentum was terrifying. Each of Lin Xian's sword attacks was extremely powerful, as if they could cut through everything. However, Xiao Li was not to be trifled with. As a rank 4 honorable realm expert, and at the same time, he had summoned his martial soul. His combat strength was also terrifying. The two of them attacked, and the sky darkened. The ground sank, and countless rivers flowed. Boom! After another collision, Lin Xian was forced back. Ha, kid. What other moves do you have? Hurry up and use them. Otherwise, I'll take your life. Xiao Li stood on the purple python and exuded a terrifying killing intent. Although he was shocked that Lin Xian could fight against him, he had the upper hand in this battle. In other words, he could definitely kill Lin Xian. Even the Lone Star sword won't work. Looks like I can only use that move. Lin Xian's eyes flickered, and he took a deep breath. Chapter 896. In the sky, Shaoli stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes flashing coldly. His opponent was harder to deal with than he had expected. He hadn't expected a second firmament brat to be able to fight with him for so long. However, it was useless because he would be the final victor. It was just that the process was a little difficult, but when he thought about how he could get a half-Earth rank artifact after killing his opponent, his eyes burned with passion again. Lin Xian's expression was cold. It seemed that he could only use that move. Originally, he didn't want to use it, but now it seemed that the Lone Star Sword alone wouldn't be enough to kill his opponent. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian's great dragon sword spirit surged. Do you really think you have everything under control? Today, I'll let you see my martial soul. Lin Xian raised his head and said in a sonorous voice, Your martial soul? Ahaha. Shaoli was disdainful. What kind of martial soul could a second firmament venerate have? If Lin Xian used a half-Earth rank artifact, he might be able to contend with him. However, if he used his martial soul, he would be courting death. Martial souls were the source of power for venerates. There was a world of difference between martial souls at each level. In a situation where only one's martial soul was used, a fourth firmament venerate could easily defeat a third firmament venerate, not to mention that his opponent was only a second firmament venerate. There was no hope against him. It could even be said that he could kill him in an instant. However, in the next moment, he couldn't laugh anymore. This was because a green sword shadow had appeared beside Lin Xian. It was abnormally hazy, but it emitted a terrifying aura. That aura made his heart palpitate. Not only him, but even Dongfang Fenghuang and the others who were hiding in the distance felt their hearts beat wildly. This is Lin Xian's martial soul. The group of people were shocked. The aura was too terrifying, and it made them feel powerless. Moreover, they realized that they had never seen Lin Xian use his martial soul in the previous battle. This was the first time. This brat is too strange. In the sky, Xiao Li's face turned gloomy again. He had to act quickly. He couldn't delay any longer. Killing intent surged in his eyes. There was nothing he could do about it. The sword shadow was too terrifying. Its aura was not any weaker than his martial soul. He could not accept this at all. How could a second-level martial honored realm martial soul be compared to his? However, the truth was right in front of him, and he had no choice but to believe it. Die, brat! Xiao Li roared angrily. He urged the purple python to charge downwards. This time, he wanted to kill his opponent in one strike. Humph! Lin Xian coldly snorted. He slowly stretched out his hand and grabbed the cyan sword shadow. Then he merged with the giant purple python in the sky, and a blinding purple light burst out. Rumble! A terrifying aura surged, and Xiao Li let out an earth-shattering roar. In the next moment, he flew out from the purple light. After merging with his martial soul, he had become extremely ferocious. His eyes had turned green, and his body was covered with scales that emitted a cold light. The most eye-catching thing was his arm, which had become extremely thick. His right arm was ferocious, and his fist had turned into a purple python's head. His left arm had turned into a python's tail. His entire person was extremely demonic. Brat, go to hell! Xiao Li threw out a punch. The purple python's head was ferocious, and its blood-red mouth tore open the void easily. Not only that, the python's head formed a purple light pillar that swept out in all directions. It could be said that Xiao Li had become more powerful after merging with his martial soul. However, Lin Xian was not afraid. He held the cyan sword shadow and shot up into the sky. 108 rays of sword chi surrounded his body and pierced through the clouds. Die. The sword shadow flashed, and the long sword struck out. In an instant, the sky was filled with cyan light and sword chi. The sword once again sent Xiao Li flying. Xiao Li was sent flying again and roared into the sky. No, I don't believe it. He was about to go crazy. Before this, Lin Xian was still an ant that he could crush. However, after a short while, he could not defeat Lin Xian. This feeling of having his identity changed made Xiao Li go crazy. You don't believe it? Then I'll beat you until you believe it. Lin Xian's voice was cold. His body swayed, and he appeared in front of Xiao Li. The cyan sword shadow fell. Crack! Xiao Li's pupils contracted, and he clenched his teeth to form a purple light screen in front of him. However, when the cyan sword shadow fell, the defensive light screen was as fragile as paper. Chapter 897. Xiao Li's pupil shrank as he tried his best to resist. However, his defense was as fragile as a piece of paper. The green sword shadow fell and instantly split the purple light screen. Then it landed heavily on Xiao Li's body. Bang! Xiao Li flew backward. Half of the bones in his body were broken. Fortunately, he had the purple martial soul's defense. Otherwise, the sword would have split him in half. In the distance, Dongfang Phoenix and the others stared blankly at the scene. They could not believe that Xiao Li, who was so arrogant not long ago, was now beaten up like a dead dog by Lin Xian. The contrast was too great. Xiao Li was also in a daze. His entire being was in a daze. To think that he, the mayor of Blackwater City, a dignified stage 4 expert, would actually be defeated? A touch of fear appeared in his eyes. He was finally afraid because his opponent had the power to kill him. Previously, he had been arrogant because he was able to crush Lin Xian and the others. But now, the situation had been reversed. Thus, his arrogance was completely gone. Stop. I won't fight anymore. Spare me. Xiao Li kept gasping for breath. Then he gritted his teeth and said, I don't want your half-Earth rank treasure. I don't want the crystal skull. I'll let you go, and we'll call it a day. How about that? Call it a day? Lin Xian sneered. First, the half-Earth rank treasure and the crystal skull are both mine. You have no right to say no. Second, call it a day? How is that possible? Why didn't you call it a day when you injured Bing Ling and the others? Now that you can't beat me, you come here and tell me to call it a day. Do you think that's possible? Then what do you want? What compensation do you want? Tell me. Compensation? I've said it before. You bullied my companions. You can only pay with your life. Kid, don't go too far. Hearing this, Xiao Li was furious again. He was like a crazy lion. Do you know who I am? If you dare to kill me, even if you're a disciple of Senma College, you can't escape death. Threatening me? No matter who you are, you must die today. Lin Xian did not want to say more. He held the great dragon sword soul and walked forward step by step. I'll kill you. Xiao Li's face was filled with madness. In the next moment, he burned the spiritual energy in his body, and a purple flame formed on the surface of his body. At the same time, his aura skyrocketed. Die, brat. In order to save his life, he didn't hesitate to burn his spirit energy. Although this method could increase his strength in a short period of time, the aftereffects were extremely tragic. He probably wouldn't be able to recover in half a year. Purple flames mixed with violent spiritual energy rushed towards Lin Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian took a deep breath and held the cyan sword shadow with both hands, pushing the great dragon sword soul to its limits. Then he slashed with his sword. There was nothing out of the ordinary in the sky, but a sword shadow flashed by quickly. Then, It turned into an azure dragon, roaring ferociously and pouncing forward. Then a terrifying sound rang out, and a dazzling light illuminated the entire sky. Terrifying energy spread out in all directions like waves. Everything in its path was reduced to ashes. Not good. Retreat. Dongfang Phoenix and the others, who were hiding in a safe place, were shocked when they saw the energy of the sword wave surging towards them. They quickly retreated. They only stabilized themselves after retreating a few hundred feet. Then they looked forward anxiously. In front of them, sword radiance shot into the sky, and thunder rumbled. It was a scene of destruction. After a long time, the horrifying scene gradually disappeared. The ground was full of scars and cracks that were created by the sword chi spread out for 1,000 meters. The nearby mountains and forests had all disappeared and turned into flat ground. Lin Xian, Dongfang Phoenix, and the others exclaimed and quickly ran forward. Then they saw a figure standing there. The person standing there was Lin Xian. Not far from him, Shaoli was lying on the ground with a transparent hole in his chest. He couldn't be more dead. Seeing the corpse, Dongfang Phoenix and the others trembled. Then their eyes were filled with shock. Shaoli, a level 4 supremacy, was dead. Lin Xian actually killed a level 4 supremacy. The 4 of them gasped and then looked at Lin Xian with complicated expressions. Lin Xian put away the green sword shadow. Then his feet swayed and he couldn't stand steadily. "Are you okay?" Seeing this, Dongfang Phoenix hurried forward to support him. Bing Ling and the others also saw Lin Xian's pale face. Their eyes were filled with worry. "You look so pale. Are you injured?" "I'm not injured. I'm just a little exhausted," Lin Xian said weakly. Indeed, the spiritual power in his body had almost dried up. His muscles were sore, and his whole body felt like it was about to split open. Although the dragon sword soul was extremely powerful, the price he had to pay was not small. Just like now, Lin Xian was extremely weak, exhausted. Dongfang Phoenix and the others were relieved when they heard that. It was good that he was not injured. They also knew that Lin Xian's combat power was too shocking. They thought that he must have activated some kind of secret skill. Now, it should be the after effects of using the secret skill. No matter what, we are safe now. Yang Lin sat down on the ground, his entire body relaxed. Indeed, the previous battle was too intense. Moreover, each of them had suffered serious injuries. They thought that they would definitely die when facing a level 4 supremacy. Now Lin Xian had solved everything. This feeling of surviving a disaster was so good. All right, let's not waste any more time here. Let's leave quickly. If the people from Blackwater City find us, then the situation will be really bad, Bing Ling said worriedly. Hearing this, everyone nodded and stood up to leave. Lin Xian summoned the golden-feathered divine eagle and was ready to leave. However, just as they climbed onto the back of the golden-feathered divine eagle, a mocking voice suddenly sounded. As expected of the prodigy of Senma College, "You're not simple. You can even kill a level 4 supremacy." Hearing this, everyone's body stiffened, and their eyes were filled with shock. Lin Xian frowned and quickly probed with his soul power. "Who is it? Come out!" he shouted in a deep voice. The current situation was too bad. Among the 5 of them, except for Dongfang Phoenix, the other 4 were all injured. Moreover, Lin Xian was still very weak and did not have much combat power. If he was targeted at this time, the situation would be very dangerous. Bing Ling and the others were also aware of the situation. They scanned their surroundings cautiously. "Don't look for me. I'm here," the mocking voice sounded again. Then the void fluctuated and a figure appeared in front of them. It was a young man with a slender figure. He looked at them with a cold smile. He was wearing a purple robe with the word Yen embroidered on his chest. Seeing the young man, Bing Ling and the others looked nervous and secretly circulated their spiritual power. Lin Xian's pupils shrank, and he had a bad feeling. Chapter 898. Disciples of the Yen family, what are you trying to do by blocking our way? We are from the Immortal Martial Academy. Please leave quickly. Bing Ling shouted. She naturally recognized the other party's identity. However, the young man merely sneered without the slightest hint of fear. You must be Fairy Bing Ling. You're indeed beautiful. Fairy, don't worry. We won't do anything to you. We're looking for him. The young man smiled and pointed at Lin Xian. Seeing where the young man was pointing, Bing Ling and the others fell silent. They then looked at Lin Xian with complicated expressions. Lin Xian let out a bitter laugh and shrugged helplessly. You've offended a lot of people. Dongfang Phoenix rolled her eyes at him. Bing Ling said in a low voice, no matter who you're looking for, we're a team. We came out together, so we have to go back together. I advise you to leave quickly. You can't afford to delay Senma College's mission, Bing Ling said in a low voice. She wanted to use her identity as a student of Senma College to intimidate the disciples of the Yen family. However, the other party shook his head. This kid killed a genius of the Yen family. Do you think I'll let him go? An eye for an eye, an eye for an eye. Fairy, you should know this. I advise you to leave obediently. Otherwise, don't blame us for being merciless. Moreover, such a good opportunity doesn't come by often. The smile on the young man's face disappeared and was replaced by a murderous look. Revenge? Don't make it sound so righteous. Lin Xian sneered. Isn't this what you want? Then he raised the Lone Star sword in his hand. It's good that you know. The young man looked at the Lone Star sword with a burning gaze. He had seen the previous battle. Lin Xian was able to fight a level 4 venerable to a draw with the power of the Lone Star sword. This was the power of the Lone Star sword. It was absolutely shocking. If the Yen family could get their hands on it, their strength would increase rapidly. At the thought of this, the young man grinned and said excitedly, Kid, hand over the Lone Star sword, and I'll give you a quick death. You don't seem to have the right to say that. Lin Xian glanced at him with disdain. Looking at the disdainful gaze, the young man from the Yen clan's face darkened and his body trembled with anger. He was also a genius disciple, but now he was being looked down upon. However, he did not make a move in the end. After all, the scene of Lin Xian killing a 4th-level venerable was still deeply imprinted in his mind. Although the other party looked weak, there was no guarantee that he didn't have a backup plan. He didn't dare to take this risk. Lin Xian smiled when he saw the other party's angry and fearful expression. Trash. Bing Ling and the others were also disdainful, their eyes full of disdain. Previously, he had been extremely arrogant. Now, he did not even dare to make a move against an extremely weak 2nd-rank venerate. If this wasn't trash, then what was? Good, good. You're indeed a sharp-tongued fellow. The young man was so angry that he laughed, and his eyes were filled with ferocity. I'd like to see if you'll still be so stubborn later. His eyes were cold, and he decided that when he caught Lin Xian later, he would torture him to death to vent the hatred in his heart. In the next moment, he stretched out his arm and raised it above his head, shooting a ball of light into the sky. Boom! The ball of light exploded, and it was extremely dazzling. It was like a signal that flashed in the sky. Soon, the surrounding space fluctuated and violent energy surged. Countless black figures appeared around them. So many people. Bing Ling and the others' eyes narrowed when they saw the dense crowd of martial artists around them. If it was only the young man, they would not be afraid at all. now that there were so many people they could not contend with them in their current state. Humph, kid, I've finally caught you. An old voice was heard, and it was filled with boundless coercion. It pressed down on Lin Xian. Lin Xian frowned, and was about to make a move. However, Dongfang Phoenix, who was beside him, snorted and made a move first. A ray of fiery red light shot out and instantly tore the coercion apart. What's the point of bullying an injured junior? The Yen family is really shameless. Dongfang Phoenix was furious. Little girl, this is not a place for you to act presumptuously. An old figure appeared in the void and stared down with a gloomy face. As soon as he appeared, the surrounding crowd of cultivators quickly gathered and surrounded Lin Xian and the others. In addition to the old man at the front, 3 other figures appeared and stood side by side with him. They were all third heaven honorables, and their auras were powerful and mighty. Kid, hand over the Lone Star sword obediently. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape today. Why are you talking nonsense with him? Just catch him and kill him. An old woman in green said viciously from the side. You sent so many people to besiege me. You really think highly of me. Looking at the countless figures around him, Lin Xian smirked, but it's a pity. If the Lone Star Sword were to fall into the hands of a shameless family, like the Yen family, it would be a great loss. Hearing Lin Xian's mockery, Dongfang Phoenix and the others covered their mouths and laughed. Kid, you're courting death. The young man from before was furious. The murderous aura on his body turned into a sharp sword and rushed into the sky. Why, you're not convinced? Lin Xian sneered. Then come and prove yourself. All right, I'll kill you now. The young man was trembling with anger. He had been looked down upon twice. With his arrogant character, how could he stand it? Moreover, his opponent was extremely weak and could not exert much of his combat strength. He could kill him with his own strength. In a flash, the young man from the Yen family charged forward. At that moment, the old man in the sky reached out his hand to stop him. Kid, no matter what you say, you won't be able to escape death today. The disciples of the Yen family are all geniuses. We won't fight with a dead man. Hee, what a weird reason. Just say that you don't dare to fight. Lin Xian sneered. See, your elders don't think highly of you. Sigh, trash will always be trash. I'm already so weak, but I still don't dare to fight. What's the use of keeping such a person alive? I'm going to kill you. The young man roared angrily. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He said to the old man in the sky, Elder, let me do it. I want to kill that little bastard with my own hands. Hearing that, the blue-robed elder's face turned gloomy, and he looked at the others. It's okay. That kid used a secret skill to increase his strength. He's extremely weak now. Even a first-level honorable can kill him, let alone a second-level honorable. Indeed, looking at his weakness, he doesn't seem to be faking it. The few of them quickly communicated and confirmed that Lin Xian was indeed extremely weak and could not exert much of his strength. In the void, the blue-robed old man sneered. Since you're courting death, I'll show you the power of the Yen family's disciples. Chapter 899. After saying this, that elder withdrew his hand, no longer intercepting him. Below, the young man smiled cruelly. Brat, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Remember, my name is Yen Song. The young man sneered and dashed forward. The long sword in his hand pierced toward Lin Xian like a venomous snake. This sword strike was extremely sharp, and the angle of the strike was very tricky. Very few people at the second level of the Venerable Realm could withstand it, let alone the extremely weak Lin Xian. He was afraid that this sword strike would take his opponent's life. Dongfang Fenghuang shouted and wanted to intervene. However, a terrifying force shrouded her and restrained her. Not only her, but Bing Ling and the others were also shrouded by a terrifying force. It was obvious that the elder from the Yen family had intervened and restrained them. Just watch. I don't need you to do anything to deal with a piece of trash. Lin Xian smirked, and a cold look appeared in his eyes. Looking at the strange and tricky sword technique, he held the Lone Star sword and stabbed it out. Poof! Blood spurted out, and a figure fell to the ground. It was the arrogant young man from the Yen family. His sword was still 3 feet away from Lin Xian, and it did not even touch his clothes. Is this the demeanor of a Yen family disciple? How unsightly! Lin Xian put away his long sword and sneered. What? In the sky, the few elders from the Yen family were stunned, and they were shocked. Their opponent was obviously very weak. How could he display such a powerful sword technique? He killed their disciple in one strike. It was too ironic. It was a slap to their faces. Previously, they were arrogant and said that the Yen family disciple was peerless. However, he was killed by a weak second-level honorable in one strike. This huge contrast was simply too ironic. Around them, countless martial artists from the Yen family were shocked and could not believe it. Dongfang Fenghuang and the others sneered. Even Yang Lin and Yi Yen looked at them with disdain. Your Yen family is so pitiful. You're such a big family, but you don't even have a genius in the younger generation. How are you going to survive in the future? I advise you not to fight over the Lone Star sword. You should focus on nurturing the Yen clan's disciples. Otherwise, your Yen clan's disciples would be the laughingstock of others. Lin Xian shook his head and sighed, his face full of regret. Mockery. This was blatant mockery. The elders of the Yen clan were so angry that their bodies were trembling. They wanted nothing more than to slap the other party to death. The young disciples of the Yen clan were even more furious. They glared at Lin Xian and wanted to tear him apart. They were all young geniuses and believed that their talents were extraordinary. They didn't put ordinary people in their eyes. But now they were actually being looked down upon by a weak and injured kid. Their Yen clan disciple's body was split into 2, but the despicable thief only coughed out a mouthful of blood. This huge contrast was something they could not accept. Lin Xian was expressionless, but he was roaring in his heart. He was indeed extremely weak. When he attacked just now, he endured the pain all over his body. Now, he felt as if his entire body was about to split apart. Fortunately, his willpower was strong, and he forcefully resisted the pain. Moreover, he appeared to be calm and indifferent. His goal was to anger the other party to death. As expected, the other party was so angry that she was about to explode. "Brat, I'm going to kill you." The old woman in green had a hideous expression. She pointed out a finger, and a jade-green finger beam pierced towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian frowned. He turned his body with difficulty and dodged to the side. This movement made the corner of his mouth twitch uncontrollably. His entire body felt like it was about to split apart. Whoosh! The finger beam brushed past his body. The terrifying aura pushed him back, causing Lin Xian to spit out a few more mouthfuls of blood. "Damn it! Old witch! I'll kill you later." Lin Xian gritted his teeth. Then he slowly stood up and smiled. "Why, the young one can't beat me, so the old one has to step in? Today, even if you're shameless, I'll take you all on. Ah, I'm so angry." In the sky, the elders' eyes were burning with anger. Their bodies were about to combust. They were too angry. This was obviously a weak thief, but he was able to avoid their killing moves several times. This made them go crazy. There's no need for the elders to step in to deal with a dying person. At this moment, a calm voice sounded. Immediately after, the void rippled open, and a tall and handsome young man appeared in the void. Chapter 900. That person was dressed in black and looked very handsome. There was a heroic spirit between his eyebrows, and the aura on his body was even more terrifying. He was not any weaker than the Yen family elders. The young man was also a third-level honorable. To be able to reach the third level of honorable at such a young age, he was definitely a genius. It's just a small matter. Why don't the elders do it? Let me do it. The young man looked calm and did not take Lin Xian seriously. Very well. Then I'll leave it to you. The elders heaved a sigh of relief when they saw the young man. This time, the Yen clan's reputation could be redeemed. The young man was a third-level honorable and was not much weaker than them. It would be safe for him to do it. Bing Ling and the others were worried again. The young man was a terrifying opponent. Even if Lin Xian was at his peak, he would have to take him seriously. However, Lin Xian was extremely weak now. How could he defeat the young man? Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He did not expect the Yen family to have such a young expert. However, it was impossible for the young man to kill him just like that. Speak. Do you want to kill yourself to atone for your crimes? Or do you want me to do it? The young man stood with his hands behind his back. He raised his chin and looked arrogant. Do it myself? Lin Xian smiled. I don't have such a habit. Then I'll help you. However, you'll end up in a miserable state if you fall into my hands. You better be mentally prepared. The arrogant young man sneered and pointed his finger. His finger technique was the same as the elder who had attacked earlier. It was the Yen family's ultimate technique, the void-penetrating finger. It was said to be able to penetrate everything. When the arrogant young man used it, its power was terrifying. The arrogant young man sneered and pointed his finger. The light from his finger shone like a silver dragon. It was extremely bright and gave off a roar that shook the heavens and earth. In an instant, the silver light arrived in front of Lin Xian and slammed into him. Lin Xian frowned, and his eyes shone. He could naturally feel the power of the finger. However, he was now extremely weak and did not have much strength left. He had to plan carefully to kill this expert in front of him. Therefore, he did not dodge. Instead, he used the red lotus armor and formed a red armor shadow in front of him. Bang! In the next moment, the terrifying finger light collided with the crimson armor phantom, emitting an earth-shattering sound. Lin Xian was also sent flying by the enormous force. Fortunately, the red lotus battle armor was extremely powerful and neutralized most of the force. However, his body was currently extremely weak, and his remaining strength caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Humph! I thought you were some kind of expert, but it seems like you can't even withstand a single blow. How boring! The arrogant young man lifted his chin and stared coldly at Lin Xian. Can't even withstand a single blow. Dongfang Fenghuang was trembling with anger. She couldn't stand it anymore. The other party was too despicable and shameless. Why didn't you say that when Lin Xian wasn't injured? Now that you're dealing with a seriously injured person, you still have the nerve to call yourself a genius? If I were you, I would have killed myself long ago. Yang Lin snorted coldly. The other party did not dare to come out when Lin Xian was at his peak. Now that Lin Xian was weak and could not use his strength, the other party jumped out to make a fuss. He was indeed shameless. However, the arrogant young man did not think much of it. He sneered and said nonchalantly, "No matter what you say, he's lying on the ground now, and I'm unharmed. This is the difference between us." Difference? Lin Xian laughed. He stood up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He said coldly, "You're a third-rank honorable. You don't dare to fight me in close combat when I'm seriously injured. Instead, you choose to attack me from afar. Tell me the difference between us. You don't even have the courage to fight me in close combat. How can someone like you be called a genius? You're just a coward. Do I need to fight you in close combat to kill you? One finger is enough. The arrogant young man sneered and was unmoved. Fine, fine. Then try to kill me with one finger. Lin Xian's face darkened. At this point, he had to stay calm and provoke the other party as much as possible. He would only have a chance to kill the other party if the other party was enraged and fought him in close combat. You want to die? It's not that easy. The arrogant young man said coldly, I'll cripple your right leg with my next finger. He was very arrogant and directly stated the direction of his next attack. Only someone who was extremely confident or who had a huge difference in strength would dare to do so. It was obvious that the arrogant young man was superior and did not take Lin Xian seriously at all. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his finger and bent it slightly. Then he flicked it quickly. Buzz. The void was torn apart and a silver ray of light pierced toward Lin Xian. The direction and angle of the attack happened to be Lin Xian's right leg. Lin Xian gritted his teeth again and endured the pain of his body being torn apart. He activated his spiritual power and formed the red lotus armor in front of his right leg. Bam! There was another earth-shattering tremor. He was pushed back and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth again. However, he managed to block the attack. Hee, I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Lin Xian stared ahead with a look of disdain. Seeing this, the arrogant young man from the Yan family's face darkened, and there was a look of anger in his eyes. He did not expect a dying guy to be able to block his attack. He was very surprised. You can't even hurt a seriously injured person. What a piece of trash, Dongfang Fenghuang said disdainfully. Weren't you very confident before? I think you're just slapping yourself in the face. Yang Lin said in a low voice. Bing Ling and the others also looked at him with disdain. Feeling their gazes, the arrogant young man was completely enraged. Boy, you've successfully angered me. Since you want to die so badly, I'll fulfill your wish. The arrogant young man's face darkened. He took a step forward and prepared to finish off his opponent in close combat. In the void, the few elders from the Yan family frowned. The other party had repeatedly provoked them and wanted to fight in close combat. Could it be that he was up to something? Therefore, the blue-robed elder quickly sent a voice transmission to remind the arrogant young man not to fight in close combat. Elder, don't worry. What kind of tricks can a dying boy play? The arrogant young man was very confident. If I can't even kill him, I don't deserve to be called the genius of the Yan family. Indeed, he had the right to be confident. To be able to reach the third level of the honorable realm at such a young age, his talent was shocking. He did not think that there was any suspense in this battle. With a stomp, the arrogant young man turned into a black shadow and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. This scene made Dongfang Fenghuang and the others nervous. Although Lin Xian had provoked the arrogant young man to fight in close combat, they were still very worried now that it was really close combat. The main reason was that Lin Xian was too weak now. It would be difficult for him to continue fighting with a third-level honorable realm. Bing Ling and the others sent voice transmissions to each other and secretly circulated their spiritual energy, preparing to strike at the critical moment. Lin Xian looked at the figure that was charging towards him, and a cold smile appeared on his face. The other party had finally taken the bait. Previously, he had risked his injuries to take the other party's attacks head-on. Finally, he had angered the other party and started to fight in close combat. Lin Xian was waiting for this moment. Chapter 901. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain all over his body. He summoned a blood clone while he held the Lone Star's sword tightly. Whoosh! The arrogant young man arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. His eyes were filled with cruelty. Then he reached out his fist and punched Lin Xian's head. Bang! The punch landed squarely on Lin Xian's body. The arrogant young man felt blood spurting out, and the smell of blood was pungent. However, he did not know that it was only Lin Xian's blood clone that was injured. Lin Xian's real body quickly retreated the moment he punched and dodged the fatal blow. Lin Xian was using his clone to create an illusion and create an opportunity to attack. Now, the opportunity he had been waiting for was here. The Lone Star sword flashed and stabbed out quickly. A cold light shook heaven and earth. At that moment, countless people were shocked, as if they had been slashed by a sharp sword. Bang! The next moment, the scene seemed to have frozen. In front of him, the destroyed clone slowly dissipated and turned into a bloody mist that merged back into Lin Xian's body. On the other hand, the arrogant young man's body was stiff and trembling nonstop. A blue sword had pierced through his chest. That's impossible. I've already destroyed your head. How can you still be alive? He had a look of disbelief. Humph. You don't believe me when I say you're trash. Can't you see that? Lin Xian said disdainfully. Go to hell and think about it slowly. Then he pulled out the Lone Star sword. Lin Xian had used up all his strength, so when he pulled out the sword, his entire arm was trembling. The arrogant young man from the Yan family was about to explode. When he saw that such a weak person had actually killed him, he was unwilling and wanted to resist, but the power of the great dragon's sword soul bombarded his body. He could not resist at all, and could only watch helplessly. Moreover, his life force was rapidly draining away. A cold feeling enveloped his body. He regretted that he had to engage in close combat with Lin Xian. Plop! When Lin Xian pulled out the Lone Star sword, the arrogant young man's body fell to the ground. He could not be more dead. The surrounding people were dumbfounded. They could not believe it. A third sky, venerable realm expert, had died just like that. Bing Ling and the others widened their eyes and stared at Lin Xian with a strange expression. This guy is really scary. No, in the sky, the elders of the Yan family roared. Ah, damned thief, I'm going to kill you. They were crazy, completely crazy. That arrogant young man was the pride of their clan, the hope of their clan. But now he had been killed. Aggrieved, too aggrieved. Those elders' eyes were all red like demons. Their bodies were emitting a terrifying killing intent. Die, you little thief. The green-clothed old woman shrieked. She waved her fingers, and 5 streaks of silver light shot out like 5 silver flood dragons. They shot through the air at high speed, emitting thunderous sounds. The blue-robed old man also attacked. A blue palm with a mysterious aura slammed downwards. In an instant, a terrifying aura quickly enveloped Lin Xian. Attack. Bing Ling let out a shout and quickly attacked. She knew that Lin Xian would not be able to withstand such an attack. Frost danced in the air. Countless icicles rose from the ground and pierced into the sky. They were like divine spears, emitting a cold aura. Yang Lin roared and formed a seal with his palms. A huge rock cage was formed to protect Lin Xian. Dongfang Feng Huang and Yi Yan also launched powerful attacks to resist the elders of the Yan family. All kinds of collision sounds were heard. Light splashed everywhere, and the entire sky was covered. When the light disappeared, Lin Xian was still standing there with a pale face and a mocking smile on his face. Seeing that smile, the elders of the Yan family were furious. Hee, the Yan family is really useless. They can't even kill a dying man. A charming laugh was heard with a strong sense of disdain. Who is it? Come out. The blue-robed elder roared, and his voice shook the surroundings. They were on the verge of going berserk. How dare someone laugh at them? That's courting death. You're so angry, but you seem to have found the wrong person. That voice suddenly turned cold. It was like a sharp sword that cut through the void. Then, an enchanting figure appeared. Behind him was a large group of martial artists. Vientiane auction. Seeing that enchanting figure, the eyes of the Yen family's elder shrunk. He did not expect that person to come. Lin Xian furrowed his brows again. It seemed like he had been completely exposed this time. Bing Ling and the rest stood together, nervously. They did not expect to attract so many experts. Haha, it's so lively. A loud voice rang out, like a bell, shaking the heavens and earth. A huge golden spiritual boat came from afar. It was like a golden ray of light, and it arrived nearby in an instant. Countless martial artists stood on the spiritual boat. The person in front was a burly man who looked like a golden giant. He carried a huge battle axe on his back, and his entire body was filled with explosive power. Guangzhan. They did not expect the people from the huge axe city to come as well. Kid, you can't escape this time. Guangzhan looked down, and his eyes were burning. Countless martial artists flew over. Other than the three major forces, the Huang family and the Lung family from Windy City were also there. Anyway, they were all here for the Lone Star Sword. Kid, hand over the Lone Star Sword. Countless voices rang out, filled with greed. Looking at those martial artists, Lin Xian's face turned cold. He whispered to Bing Ling, and the rest, listen up, leave quickly. This matter has nothing to do with you. The situation this time was too dangerous. He did not want Bing Ling and the rest to take the risk. After all, they had helped him a lot. No. Bing Ling and the rest shook their heads. Although the situation was not good, they were unwilling to leave. Don't worry, I have a way to save my life. Do you still remember the space teleportation platform? I still have it here. Lin Xian transmitted his voice. As long as you leave safely, these people will not be able to trap me. Really? Bing Ling and the rest raised their heads and looked at Lin Xian's confident smile. Their hearts calmed down. You said it. You must come back alive. Bing Ling and the rest nodded their heads. No problem. Lin Xian smiled. Then he raised his head. You are looking for me. Let the people around me leave. Leave? Impossible. An elder from the Huang family sneered. Those who are here today don't even think about leaving. An expert from the Lung family said coldly, Humph. Bing Ling snorted coldly and raised her hand to throw out a jade token. The token enlarged in the air like a jade door. On it were two large and flamboyant words, Immortal Martial. Immortal Martial? Senma College. Seeing this scene, many martial artists were shocked. The eyes of the experts from the Huang family and Lung family shrank, their faces full of shock. You dare to stop a disciple of Senma College? How dare you? Bing Ling shouted with a hint of anger in her voice. The experts from the Huang family and Lung family looked terrible, as if they had eaten a rat. They wanted to show off, but they did not expect to kick an iron plate. Chapter 902. The countenances of the experts from the Huang clan and Lung clan all turned black. They were filled with regret in their hearts. Why did they have to take the lead? Now that they had offended someone from the Immortal Martial Academy, they didn't dare to do so. It could be said that they were in a dilemma, seeing the awkward expressions of the two families. Lin sneered. If you don't have the strength, don't come out to show off. Hearing this, the martial artists from the Huang and Lung families trembled in anger. They glared at Lin Xian fiercely, wanting to tear him apart. All right, you can leave, but he must stay. The alluring lady from the Wanxiang auction, Shangguan Xian, said coldly as she pointed at Lin Xian. Junior brother Lin, be careful. Bing Ling and the others looked at Lin Xian deeply, then rushed into the sky and left quickly. Although the situation was very dangerous, they believed that Lin Xian would return safely. Moreover, they had another reason for leaving, and that was to ask the college for help. For a peerless genius like Lin Xian, the Immortal Martial Academy would definitely not allow him to fall. Seeing the backs of Bing Ling and the others leaving, the surrounding martial artists laughed wildly again. Now Lin Xian was like a weak ant. He couldn't escape at all, and was completely at their mercy. Kid, hand over the Lone Star Sword, and I'll leave your corpse intact. I won't let you die so easily. I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death. All sorts of arrogant voices sounded, and their eyes were filled with greed. Lin Xian coughed twice, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and walked away shakily. Humph, kid, I advise you not to play any tricks. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. Shangguan Xian said coldly, whether you can get the Lone Star Sword or not, you'll die today. I'll let you know the consequences of offending the Yen family. The elders from the Yen family ground their teeth so hard that they almost broke. A group of people floated in the sky, looking at Lin Xian walking slowly on the ground. They all had cruel smiles on their faces. They were like cats playing with a mouse. They weren't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, they were enjoying the moment. Lin Xian's face was expressionless. He walked slowly, but in his heart he was sneering. A bunch of damned bastards. Just you wait. Soon you won't be able to laugh anymore. He walked very slowly, but it didn't take long for him to arrive near Xiao Li's corpse. Lin Xian's goal was very simple. His body was currently weak, and he could not use much strength. Therefore, in order to deal with the people around him, he needed to have enough strength first, and Xiao Li's corpse was the best source of power. Xiao Li was a 4th-level martial saint, and was extremely powerful. His blood contained a large amount of essence energy. Lin Xian, on the other hand, had obtained the blood sword inheritance and could use this blood to recover. Therefore, in the next moment, he bent his fingers and shot out a thin red light that pierced into Xiao Li's corpse. With a low shout, Lin Xian activated the blood sword inheritance and quickly absorbed the blood energy. Not good. Quickly kill this brat. Seeing Lin Xian's strange actions, Shangguan Xian's face finally changed. Her willowy eyebrows trembled, and a bad premonition arose in her heart. With a shout, Shangguan Xian waved her jade-like hands, and a pair of jade-like palms slammed down from the sky. However, she was still one step too late. Lin Xian activated the blood sword inheritance and instantly gained strength. Although he had not fully recovered, he could already move freely. With a tap of his foot, he activated the illusory demon steps and calmly dodged the palm. At the same time, he clenched his fist, and a blood-red sword appeared in his hand. In the next moment, a ferocious dragon head appeared on the blood-red sword and swallowed Xiao Li's corpse. Quickly stop him. This brat is about to recover. At this moment, the surrounding martial artists understood what was going on. All of them screamed in fear and quickly attacked Lin Xian with powerful attacks. Countless dazzling lights flew in the sky like meteors and blasted downwards. However, Lin Xian was currently shrouded in a ball of red aura. It surrounded him like blood, and on the blood-red light screen, there were strange patterns. It was very strange and emitted a terrifying aura. This was Lin Xian activating the blood sword inheritance's secret technique to quickly absorb the energy. Soon, the blood-red light on the surface of his body became stronger and stronger, and it quickly rotated. A wave of energy erupted and spread out in all directions. Boom! A shocking vibration sounded, and a blood-red giant that was hundreds of feet tall suddenly appeared. It roared and swept its arms, knocking away all the incoming attacks. In the next moment, Lin Xian roared. His black hair fluttered, and a terrifying aura spread in all directions. The blood-red sword in his hand disappeared, and in its place was the Lone Star sword that was blooming with dark blue light. After using the blood sword inheritance's secret technique and the energy from Xiao Li's corpse, Lin Xian's strength had finally recovered. He held the Lone Star sword in his hand and looked around coldly. He was like the god of death, emitting a biting, cold, murderous aura. A bunch of old dogs, didn't you want the Lone Star sword? It's here now. Come and get it if you can. Humph. What's so great about recovering your strength? I'll kill you now. A figure flew out quickly, carrying a terrifying aura. It was an elder of the Yen family, and his strength was at the third heaven of the honorable realm. He attacked with all his strength, and violent energy swept in all directions. However, Lin Xian's expression was cold as he quickly swung his sword. Poof! A head flew up and blood spurted out. Then, Lin Xian nailed him in the air with the blood-red sword and quickly sucked him dry. A blood-red figure appeared behind him, holding a blood-red sword. It emitted a bloody aura and sucked all the blood dry. In the next moment, Lin Xian's aura became stronger. Shock, absolute shock. A third heaven of the honorable realm could not even block a single sword. What a piece of trash. Whether it was the old or the young of the Yen family, they were all trash. Lin Xian's expression was cold, and he sneered disdainfully. In the sky, the elders of the Yen family were furious, and at the same time, they felt a chill in their hearts. The elder who attacked just now was not much weaker than them, and he was also an expert of the family. However, he was killed in just one move. This made their hearts tremble, and they did not dare to attack rashly. As expected of a half-Earth ranked treasure, it's so powerful, it can let a second heaven of the honorable realm kill a third heaven expert so easily. This treasure must not fall into the hands of others. Quang Zhan's voice was loud and clear, filled with excitement. Everyone, let's attack together. I don't believe that he can fight against so many people. Sheng Wanxian also shouted, "Oh, okay, let's attack together. Let's kill this little thief first, then we'll discuss the Lone Star sword." Immediately, dozens of martial artists walked out. These people were all third heaven honorables, and they had terrifying auras on their bodies. When they connected together, their momentum was terrifying. Not to mention Lin Xian, they were confident that they could kill even a fourth heaven honorable realm expert. These people walked towards Lin Xian step by step. With every step, their auras became stronger. In the end, it was like 100,000 demon mountains pressing down on Lin Xian. Hurry up and get rid of this brat. Stop delaying. Sheng Wanxian said softly. She also had a bad feeling in her heart. Everyone looked at each other and nodded slightly. Then they activated the spiritual energy in their bodies and prepared to go all out. Lin Xian, on the other hand, revealed an evil smile. He put the Lone Star sword back into the scabbard on his back and closed his eyes. Inside his body, the great dragon sword soul had transformed into a huge azure dragon and was constantly colliding with the mysterious small sword. At the same time, Lin Xian's soul also entered the mysterious little sword. He controlled the great dragon sword soul to form an azure dragon palm and viciously grabbed at the huge black cauldron. A low sound rang out. In the space inside the mysterious little sword, the 10,000 beast Ding was attacked and emitted a terrifying aura. A black light flickered, and the aura was terrifying. If it was outside, the entire ground would have been shattered. However, inside the mysterious little sword, there was no impact at all. However, the 10,000 life cauldron was activated. Its entire body emitted a black light, and various birds and beasts swam quickly on the cauldron. "Come out!" Lin Xian roared angrily. He used the great dragon sword soul to form an azure dragon palm and quickly grabbed at the 10,000 beast ding. Then he forcefully threw it outside. In the outside world, when everyone saw Lin Xian put away the Lone Star sword, they immediately sneered and attacked. In an instant, powerful attacks came from all directions. If one was hit, even a 4th-level venerable realm cultivator would die. Just as these attacks were about to land on Lin Xian, the air around Lin Xian started to fluctuate rapidly. It was as if it was about to shatter, and crackling sounds could be heard. A black shadow appeared from his body. Then it quickly expanded and formed a huge black cauldron that suppressed the surroundings. Boom! The moment the black cauldron appeared, it carried a terrifying aura and spread out in all directions, shattering all the attacks that were flying towards it. What? When the surrounding martial artists saw this, their pupils constricted and they turned pale with fright. They could not believe that Lin Xian could really neutralize their attacks. Damn it, what is this huge black cauldron? It's so powerful. Everyone was shocked and extremely confused. Even the Lone Star sword could not neutralize their attacks. In the next moment, they felt the ferocious aura coming from the huge black cauldron. Immediately, their bodies froze, and fear appeared on their faces. The aura was too terrifying, and it made their hearts palpitate. It was like ants meeting a huge dragon. What is this thing? At this moment, the faces of Shangguan Xian, Crazy Warrior, and the rest changed. At this moment, Lin Xian suddenly opened his eyes. A layer of bright red armor covered his body, resisting the ferocious aura coming from the huge black cauldron. Then his lips curled into a sinister smile. He pulled out the Lone Star sword again, activated the great dragon sword soul, and slashed at the huge black cauldron. Dong, dong, dong. The sound of metal clashing could be heard. Then the entire black cauldron trembled. Black light bloomed from its body, condensing into a black light pillar that pierced through the sky. An extremely terrifying aura instantly erupted. Feeling this terrifying aura, Lin Xian's face changed drastically. Without any hesitation, he raised his hand and summoned a mysterious jade platform, quickly teleporting away. Just as Lin Xian used the mysterious jade platform to teleport away, the 10,000 beast ding finally erupted. A terrifying, ferocious aura covered the heavens and earth, forming a cage. Countless black demonic beasts rushed out and rushed towards the surrounding martial artists. This change was too sudden. From the appearance of the 10,000 beast ding to the eruption, it happened in an instant. The martial artists who came to kill Lin Xian did not even have time to react before they were surrounded. The 3rd-level honorables were still fine. With their powerful strength, they could withstand the pressure. However, the other martial artists were not so lucky. The black demonic beasts were like a black flood that quickly rushed towards those martial artists. Instantly, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. All sorts of screams could be heard. It was like a scene from hell. No. Seeing their disciples being killed, the 3rd-level honorables' eyes turned red. They roared like demons and waved their hands, quickly slashing the black demonic beasts. However, those demonic beasts were not real. They were just bodies of energy. There was no end to them. No matter how strong the 3rd-level honorables were, their combined attacks did not have much effect. Not only that, the aura of the 10,000 beast ding was too terrifying. It made their hearts tremble. They did not have the time to care about the others. Not good. Run. This is that brat's trap. Shengguan Xian screamed, looking terrified. Chapter 904. The other Level 3 Venerables also cursed loudly. They wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Xian apart. Sensing the increasingly intense murderous aura, these people did not dare to stay any longer and quickly fled into the distance. However, they had still underestimated the power of the 10,000 Beast Ding. This was a complete Earth-grade artifact. How could these people resist it? In the next moment, the 10,000 Beast Ding bloomed with light and quickly grew larger, completely enveloping the entire space. Countless black lights crisscrossed and surrounded all the cultivators. In an instant, countless screams sounded like the howls of ghosts. However, not a single cultivator was able to escape. Lin Xian used the mysterious jade platform and teleported hundreds of miles away. When he appeared again, he immediately stabilized his body and quickly flew into the distance. A pair of wind and thunder wings appeared on his back. Mysterious patterns flickered on them. He flapped his wings and quickly flew through the air like a stream of light. After flying for a long time, he finally stopped and looked behind him. Extremely far away, black gas curled up like demonic clouds. It was extremely hazy, and it was impossible to see what was inside. Even from so far away, Lin Xian could still feel the terrifying aura. "Want to kill me? I'll let you enjoy your fear." Lin Xian's lips curled into a cold smile. He had seen how terrifying the 10,000 Beast Ding was. Back then, it could even blast open the king's space, let alone those Level 3 Venerables. Retracting his gaze, Lin Xian came to a mountain peak and quickly sat down to recover. Previously, he had only used the Blood Sword's secret technique to forcefully increase his battle strength. This secret technique had a certain limit, and the aftereffects were not small. Now that he was out of danger, he could properly recover. Sitting down cross-legged, Lin Xian circulated the longevity incantation, then took out various spirit pills, spirit wine, and natural treasures. He quickly swallowed them. Lin Xian had so many treasures that even Level 4 Venerables would blush if they saw them. Half a day later, he opened his eyes, and his body had recovered to its peak. This recovery speed was terrifying. If others saw it, their jaws would definitely drop. On one hand, it was because Lin Xian had so many natural treasures. On the other hand, the longevity incantation was shockingly powerful, especially the endless vitality. It was a great help to Lin Xian. No matter how serious his injuries were, as long as Lin Xian was alive, he could quickly recover by circulating the longevity incantation. Withdrawing the technique, Lin Xian opened his eyes and looked into the distance. In the distance, the terrifying aura was still there, but it was much smaller than before. After calculating the time, Lin Xian felt that it was about time. Those third heaven Venerables could not possibly resist for so long. His figure flashed like a phantom, and he returned. After sprinting all the way, he finally returned to the original direction. Lin Xian was shocked to see the pitch-black cauldron in front of him. He had to admit that the 10,000 Beast cauldron was too terrifying. Just the aura it emitted was enough to make him tremble slightly. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian activated the great dragon sword soul again and struck the mysterious small sword in his body. In the next moment, the mysterious small sword released a mysterious aura that carried with it an aura of desolation. Instantly, the 10,000 Beast Ding in the distance trembled and spun quickly. It turned into a black light and entered Lin Xian's body. It appeared in the mysterious small space again with a flash of light. Lin Xian was stunned. He had thought that it would take a lot of effort to subdue the 10,000 Beast Ding again. He did not expect it to be so simple. Moreover, It looked like the 10,000 beast sting could not wait to go in. It looked like the small sword was indeed mysterious. Even the 10,000 beast sting could not resist it. Lin Xian did not look into the reason. His figure flashed, and he rushed forward. There, the ground cracked and shattered into countless pieces. Blood flowed, and countless weapon fragments and corpses were scattered everywhere. It was like a hellish hell. The ground was covered in blood. Not a single person survived. Thousands of martial artists and dozens of third-level venerables had all died here. Looking at this scene, Lin Xian's expression was cold. These people were here to kill him. If he was not ruthless, he would be killed. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian turned and left quickly. Ancient Path Town. This was the only way back to Senma College. In this town, there were a few young figures. There were 2 men and 2 women. They had extraordinary auras and were eye-catching. Naturally, they were Bing Ling and the others. They had already sent a signal to the college and were waiting here. This was the only way back to the college. If Lin Xian came back, he would definitely pass by here. Do you think Lin Xian will be fine? Dongfang Fenghuang was a little worried. He should be fine. Looking at junior brother Lin's last expression, he should not be throwing his life away. They had no choice. Facing so many people, they could not think of how Lin Xian could escape. Even with the mysterious jade platform, it would take a lot of energy to completely get rid of those people. A group of people waited anxiously. However, a day later, a young figure landed here. Lin Xian, Dongfang Fenghuang, and the others had been paying close attention to the passers-by. When they saw the young figure, they immediately exclaimed, "You're fine. That's great." Dongfang Fenghuang cheered. Bing Ling and the others also rushed over. They were shocked when they saw the other party. On one hand, they were happy that Lin Xian could come back alive. On the other hand, they were shocked that Lin Xian could get rid of those people in such a short time. His strength was too terrifying. I really want to know how you got rid of those people. Bing Ling's beautiful eyes turned and stared at Lin Xian. Unless you have countless mysterious jade platforms. The mysterious jade platforms are very precious. It's good enough that I have 1 or 2, Lin Xian said with a smile. As for how he got rid of them, that was a secret. Seeing that Lin Xian smiled and did not say anything, Bing Ling did not ask further. After all, everyone had their secrets. The group gathered together to celebrate. Then they rested. The next day, they set off for Senma College. 2 days later, they returned to Senma College. Looking at the magnificent mountains and rivers and the scattered halls, Lin Xian and the others sighed in their hearts. Although the past few days were short, they had experienced many thrilling experiences. Now that they were back in the quiet college, it was a different feeling. After Lin Xian and the others entered Senma College, they went straight to the mission hall. The mission hall was still bustling with people coming and going. The crystal light screen, which was hundreds of feet tall, emitted a faint light. On it was a message of the college's missions. Lin Xian and the others landed in front of the hall. Then they tidied their clothes and walked into the hall. After handing in the missions, "We must rest well." Everyone cheered. The hall was even more crowded. There were disciples completing missions or handing in missions everywhere. There were crystal light platforms in the hall. There were all kinds of detailed information on them. Bing Ling led Lin Xian and the others through the main hall and into the depths of the palace. She had accepted a 4-star mission, so she was in the depths of the hall. "We're here," Bing Ling said. Then she took out a jade token and pressed it against the crystal light platform. Buzz, buzz. There was a sound that sounded like identity confirmation. Then the crystal light platform changed. Chapter 905. The news was confirmed, and soon Lin Xian and the others received their rewards. Everyone's faces were filled with joy. Lin Xian also checked the spirit tablet and found that there was indeed an extra 1 million spiritual value points. The others were also beaming with joy. They had all received generous rewards. It's worth it to take such a big risk. However, not long after Bing Ling handed over the mission, a middle-aged man quickly walked over. "Elder." Bing Ling greeted the middle-aged man respectfully. The others also hurriedly greeted him. "Yes, follow me." The middle-aged man turned around and walked inside. Finally, they arrived at a private room. "Are you saying that the treasure this time is not an ordinary treasure, but a king's treasure?" The middle-aged man frowned and said, "Yes." Bing Ling said, "It is indeed a king's treasure, but the last king's rare treasure has disappeared. As long as one investigated carefully, they would know about this matter. So Bing Ling would not hide anything. All right, you have worked hard. In order to make up for the loophole in the mission information, each of you will be compensated with 100,000 spiritual value points." "Thank you, Elder," Bing Ling and the others said. Lin Xian was also excited. 100,000 spiritual stones was not a small amount. "Elder, we will take our leave." Bing Ling led Lin Xian and the others away. After they left, the middle-aged man revealed a thoughtful expression. Although Senma College was powerful, they could not ignore the king's treasure, especially the information they had just received. The king's rare treasure seemed to be very powerful, but it had disappeared for some reason. The middle-aged man did not suspect Bing Ling and the others at all. Such a rare treasure was not something a third-level venerable could obtain. Of course, if he knew that the so-called king's rare treasure was in Lin Xian's body, what kind of expression would he have? Lin Xian and the others walked out of the mission hall in a good mood. "This time, we must exchange for that thing." Yang Lin held the spirit tablet in his hand with an excited expression. Lin Xian also smiled and said, "Thank you, everyone. If there is anything you need in the future, just say the word." He was indeed very excited. With 1 million spiritual value points, he was one step closer to the dragon blood. After chatting for a while, they went their separate ways. Yang Lin and the others wanted to go to the True Spirit Hall, while Lin Xian wanted to return to the freshman courtyard. After bidding farewell to everyone, Lin Xian transformed into a streak of sword light and flew off into the distance. Wang, a sword light flashed and landed above the freshman area. Then Lin Xian's figure appeared. "Older brother Xian, young master Xian." Seeing that figure, many people stood up and shouted excitedly. "Let's celebrate today, then rest for 2 days." "I'll take you to a place," Lin Xian said with a smile. Very quickly, the people from the Dragon Sword Pavilion arrived. The current Dragon Sword Pavilion had close to 700 people. It could be said to be a large scale. After a night of revelry, everyone went back to rest. Lin Xian and Murong Qingcheng walked side by side to the courtyard. With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian entered the courtyard. Then he completely relaxed and fell into a deep sleep. He was too tired and needed a good rest. He slept all the way until the evening of the next day. Next, Lin Xian began to organize the spoils of war and consolidate his cultivation. The people of the Dragon Sword Pavilion also focused on their cultivation. After another 2 days, Lin Xian came out. He gathered the people of the Dragon Sword Pavilion and said in a clear voice, "What we need to do this time is very simple, and that is to take revenge. The Huang family of Wind-Seeking City has chased after me many times. What do you think we should do? F***CK. He dares to chase after older brother Xian. Kill him! Kill him!" The unified slogan rang out, shaking the heavens. Lin Xian looked at the scene in front of him and nodded slightly. There were many people chasing after him. The reason why he targeted the Huang family was because they had the phoenix blood crimson gold in their hands. This was what he wanted. Of course, Lin Xian would not let go of the other forces who had chased after him. Next, Lin Xian chose 200 Venerable Realm disciples to go together. Let's go. With an order, the group quickly soared into the sky and flew into the distance. Wind-seeking city, Huang family. In the past few days, the atmosphere in the Huang family was much more oppressive than before. Many people had solemn expressions and depressed hearts, casting a shadow over the entire Huang family. At this moment, many figures were gathered in a magnificent hall. Directly above, a purple-robed old man sat. He had a dignified face and a powerful aura emitted from his body. On both sides of him were other elders, but their expressions were incomparably solemn. Patriarch, so many days have passed, but the people we sent out have not received any news at all, an elder said worriedly. That's right. Even if they don't succeed, they have to send back news. What about the other forces? The patriarch of the Huang family asked in a deep voice. This we've sent people to investigate, but there's no news either. This time, it was a middle-aged man who spoke. Logically speaking, with so many experts moving out, there was no suspense at all in capturing a second-rank venerable, even if the other party had a half-Earth rank artifact like the Lone Star Sword. However, after such a long time, and with so many forces, there was no news at all. This was simply too strange. Send people to investigate again. If there's any news, report it immediately. The patriarch of the Huang family said, Yes. Everyone replied. However, before they could finish speaking, a shocking force suddenly appeared. It was as if a demonic mountain had enveloped the entire hall. Rumble! In an instant, the magnificent hall was blown to pieces, and the huge building turned into powder. The elders in the hall were even more frightened and tried their best to resist. Not only that, but the entire Huang family was also affected by the strong impact. The buildings near the hall all collapsed and the ground cracked. The entire Huang family was almost torn in half. Who is it? Countless people were frightened and rushed into the sky. However, as soon as they flew up, they were pressed down by a huge force and fell heavily to the ground. Some elders did not believe it and tried to attack, but they were also smashed to the ground and vomited blood. The people of the Huang family were shocked. When they looked at the sky, their pupils constricted, and their hearts almost jumped out. In the sky, there was a dark mass. Countless figures gathered like a demonic cloud, enveloping the sky. A terrifying and powerful aura connected together, causing everyone to tremble. The aura was too powerful, not to mention them. Even a fourth-rank venerable would not be able to withstand it. Clan leader. A group of elders lay on the ground and looked at the clan leader with difficulty. The clan leader's mouth twitched, and his heart beat wildly. This was 2F** King terrifying. He could clearly sense that there were 200 venerable auras above. 200 of them. Not 2 and not 20. There were 200 of them. Even if they were all first-rank venerables, they would not be able to defeat them. Where did this force come from? Why did they find trouble with the Huang family? The elders of the Huang family were stunned. Although they were usually arrogant, they were not stupid enough to provoke people from such a terrifying force. This scene not only shocked the Huang family, but also the entire Windy City. Countless martial artists gathered in this direction, and their faces were filled with shock. This was too shocking. 200 venerables were enough to wipe out any force in Windy City. Who is this? How could they have such terrifying power? The Huang family is really unlucky. How dare they provoke such a force? Were they not courting death? Countless martial artists whispered. Due to the pressure, they could not get too close, but the distance could not stop their excitement. you're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories